We ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
You ain't first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review Back in the Day by Casey Brewing and the movie Warfare.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken.
Shit! Oh, sorry, it's my fault. We're out of practice.
I was behind because I totally fumbled the mug. I thought I just broke our mug. Oh, that's a nice golden color. What is this? This is West Coast IPA, right?
A West Coast IPA. So we're not uncouth here. We're not
Do they even
Visigoths.
do they even make East Coast IPAs? I can't recall a quote unquote East Coast IPA.
I don't know. If you go east enough, you get to the original.
Well,
in India.
Just the IPA, yeah. Because that's the thing, right? It became pale ale because it had to go from the East Coast of America across the Atlantic to India, like going down around Africa. And by the time it'd get there,
The sun would do something.
the sun had
Get it
like
all.
just sat
Skunked it up.
on one side,
Like,
right?
this skunky beer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and all of that beer was on one side of the ship. You know, the north side of the ship, north facing side of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's on the West Coast,
Mm.
then it's a shorter journey, and it's not going to get as hoppy.
That's true. I like it. I think that's why it's called that. Whether it is or not.
West
That's what
Coast
we're sticking
IPA.
with here.
Yeah.
All right. So we haven't done this brewery before. This brewery is Casey Brewing and Blending, because they also do some whiskeys as well.
Oh.
Or is it? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they have all sorts of stuff going on. They've got a barrel cellar, or maybe it's wine. Sorry, it's wine, not whiskey that they're doing.
Wait, is beer their main thing, or is it not their main thing? Because that will greatly affect my judgment.
I think beer's the first thing on their list there,
Okay.
and it looks like
Then I'm going to be just as harsh.
Yep, but I think also it's like it is their main, but I think they use their own wine barrels for a lot of their
Like sours?
for their other stuff. I might be totally messing this up. Let's see, what does this say about them here? About their process here. They Casey Brewing and Blending. They're using old world techniques to bring it to the modern day consumer. And their beers are created with 99% local Colorado ingredients.
Colorado?
Yeah,
Oh, because this is in Colorado.
because they are out of Glenwood Springs.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Sorry, I was confused because I'm like, I
Because
thought they were California.
stuff. Right. So yeah, so no, not the West. So it's a West Coast IPA style.
But local brewery to Colorado.
And to read the can here, I don't see any ABV or IBU. I don't see any numbers on here.
Non-alcoholic, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? We'll see We'll see in a little bit. We'll give our own personal that's got it in it. Or I feel nothing. But basically, this fella, he started just experimenting with brewing. His Troy Casey, back in 2013, he was doing years of experimenting with oak barrel aging and using wild yeasts and bacterias and things. And then he started a brewery where he could wholly focus on 100% oak barrel fermentation. So I think, that's their main deals. Barrel fermentation and beers right there.
I do immediately not think of an IPA when I drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that says about how, you do fermentation in the barrels and such.
Mm-hmm.
Also, interesting, if he's doing wine and using the what are they called?
Mm-hmm.
Wine casks?
Right.
Are they called casks? Fooders. They call wine food the barrels that they age wine in fooders. If he's using wine fooders and making IPAs, that's pretty interesting. I don't know anyone else who's doing that.
Well, now I'm feeling like I might be totally wrong about the wine piece. I thought I saw some wine bottles on this website. But it might just be beers. It might just be beers aged in oak barrels is the deal. Fermented in oak barrels, I guess would be the... Yeah, I'm not seeing any wine option. So beer's the thing. Beer's the thing. And this beer in particular, the back in the day, it says it is a West Coast style IPA brewed with malt wheat and golden promise and a touch of carafoam. I don't know what carafoam is.
I don't know what golden promise is.
I think golden promise is
the hops,
the type of malted wheat.
And malt. Okay.
They're using that Citra hops, then some Simcoe hops, and then I don't know, depending on if you're from Tejas or not, how you say this word, but I'd say they're using some Amarillo hops. But if you're a little further south, it's Amarillo. I don't know. I'm not sure how these people are saying it.
Interesting.
But anyways, that's what we got going on here. Just once again, another IPA. I think that it's time to tell you what we think about it. Well, after we taste it a little harder.
Yeah, the swish test. Are you referencing the famous Mick Mouth swish test?
I am, and as a matter of fact,
take a tablespoon amount into your gullet. This is how you guys do the swish test. If you're Ken, you've been here. Swish it around from side to side. Let it roll over the top of your tongue, the sides of your tongue, under your tongue. Splash your tongue in it. Flick your tongue against the roof of your mouth and up and down. And then let all of it get in front of your tongue and push your tongue. So you push the beer through the front teeth. Really foamy, sudsy feeling. And that should really aerate it and give you everything you need to know about the beer with the swish test. I'm going to go ahead and do it while Pat tells you all what he's thinking after doing the swish test.
I don't know. My tongue just has that bitter numb, like where I taste. It kind of is like I just ate an aspen leaf. That kind of that bitter numb.
I've never
tongue.
eaten an aspen leaf, so.
Well, as a matter of fact, the indigenous people use them to cure headaches.
I thought that was like birch bark and aspen tree bark, not leaves.
Hey, I was munching those leaves. I'll tell you what, it gets rid of your headache because your mouth tastes so bad you forget your head hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely brings out the bitterness of the hops for sure. That definitely brings out way more of the bitter flavor. Usually I feel like with IPAs, a swish test always almost brings out a, grainy dog food taste, like the smell of kibbles, or it brings out that citrusy, fruity flavor of an IPA. And this one, it doesn't really have either. Yeah, it's just like the bitter barley hops flavor. I don't know. I don't hate it. There is a note of like that kind of almost like burnt caramel, like too dark of caramel.
Which I think that's the carafoam in it. It's drum roasted caramel malt that you put in the beer.
I will tell you what, it only feeds my ego when I take a scientific wild ass guess to what that taste is. And it's exactly what it is. I'm a cicerone, man. We've been doing this a minute.
I'm freaking cis. And but I think the only thing you can taste is maybe that. I guess it must be carafoam, like caramel foam. I don't know, not styrofoam. But anyways, I feel like this tastes like maybe like the foundation of an IPA, without like there's no like. There's no like, oh wow, I can really taste that citrusy this hopsy or the dog kibble. It just tastes like there's, I don't know. I wondered if it tastes like it was canned a long time ago.
Was it?
That's what I was trying to look, but I couldn't find it.
Oh yeah, I don't see a date anywhere.
You know,
At the bottom though, the can has an engraving that looks like it says 36.
yeah, mine says T3 or 73
Oh really?
EF.
Mine says 36 or
Oh, mine says 31, and it's underlined. There we go. That's why.
36 underlined.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
I mean, it must be like a batch of, or not batch of, like a can. But anyways, I don't know.
Wait, is it named Casey because someone's name is Casey?
Troy Casey,
Okay,
Tyler
cool.
Casey. Troy
Tyler.
Casey is the
Okay.
the guy.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, you know, man, it's not bad. But after the first one, it's not what I would like grab out of the cooler again if I had other options. I will also say this. As someone who doesn't like IPAs, I've been having an insane amount of IPAs lately.
Oh yeah.
Like I just did 2 different IPA packs. One from Stone Brewing because it was on sale. They were like the liquor store was just getting rid of a bunch of them. And I can't remember the other one. It was an IPA sample pack. I gotta look it up and try to find it. But both of them cover like the full gamut of possible flavors you can have with an IPA before it just gets to really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are pretty good, but like, you know what I mean? Like most of them are like just IPAs. And this tastes like it could just be any one of those in there, I guess. It's very hard for me to like identify this amongst the other ones I've been having recently. And if like, honestly, if I had this one, I'd just grab probably the, what is it? Stone, Lion, no, Film Movie Lions beer, FML, Stone FML IPA. I really like that one a lot. You know, actually, I just see here, I didn't think about it. It does remind me of Bell's. It feels like it would fit immediately in one of the Bell's IPA packs. Like it does remind me of the Bell's beer.
Yep. I think. I don't say. I think price on this is like. I think it was like 14 for 4 kind of thing.
It's kind of pricey.
So that's where it's the
For a
like
4-pack.
as far as the. If it's because it's kind of advertised as pretty craft, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe a true brewing type of.
Ooh,
Like-
yeah.
like
the
one-
moment you say that, though,
Yeah.
I get so much more harsh with my judgments.
So,
Like the moment you're like $14 for a 4-pack, I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's pretty standard. And you're like, it's also what we pay for a 4-pack of True. I'm like, this is shit. This is garbage.
oh, so I'm ready for my thumb report.
All right, go ahead,
know-
Pat. What are you giving it?
I'm giving it 1 thumb down.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Please.
Here's the deal. You can, that's not just going off a price point, but you can definitely, for half the money, get a lot better of the beer. Like, just
Okay.
from, I think any standard brewery's IPA is just better than this one.
Really? Okay.
There's not, it's just, doesn't have that it thing. And I don't even know what that it thing is, but I know it when I taste it.
Sure.
And so, you know, it's like not horrible. You know.
I mean, 1 thumbs down is like, it's almost like you gotta try to get it.
I will say I would have done, if it wasn't so expensive, I would have given it a straight no thumb.
Yeah.
But because they're trying to play in that upper echelon game, it feels like demoted.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you could put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. Yeah, now that you say that, though, and I remember what I got these sampler 12 or variety 12 packs for,
Like $20 or whatever.
I think the Stone variety 12 pack was on sale for like $16
Right.
for 12 different Stone beers. It's, yeah. All right. You say that and it swayed me. I was going to go no thumbs as well, but now I'm going one thumb down. All right, here you go. There you guys have it. From the Mick and Pat show, Brews and Reviews. Good old KC Brewing and Blending back in the day, West Coast style IPA gets 2 thumbs down. And it's not because it's a bad taste or it tastes gross. Please don't misunderstand us. It's just because for the cost, you can get better IPAs from other breweries. Oh, in a real West Coast IPA. This is the one I got, the Firestone, California Beer Company, Firestone Walker Brewing Company. Their IPA variety pack of 4 different IPAs. This tastes like it could have been any one of them kind of mixed together with each other. Like, and they have 4 very, very like strong IPAs in that pack. You know, like really, really good ones. So all that said, I kind of want to though taste more from them.
Yep.
That's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd want to try more from Casey just
Casey's
because.
not out.
Yeah, no.
Just this one's out for the
now,
cost. You know, you're right. And
get it on sale. It's a no thumber.
Yeah.
It's no thumbs down. If you get it on sale for like $8.99 for a 4-pack because it's not moving. But I wouldn't pay full price for it. Sorry. I love you guys. Support local business.
But I think we'll bring old Casey Brewing back for a rematch with something else. And I think the IPA game is so littered and
overpopulated.
And so
it's really hard to stand out.
So I think that we need to give it 1 or 2 more shots on some different, because he does have some other, like, he has a lot of beers actually, and pretty unique list of these other kind of, looks like maybe more his style in these, like, really focused on the barrel aged, barrel fermented stuff, and so like more fruity, and so we'll see. We'll have to.
You know what I want? I want to have like a showdown between a bunch of like craft breweries. Like we pick like our top 5 craft brewers. Actually, we do like top 10, so that way it can be bracketed, and we just give them like an open top, like ceramic pot, and it's like make beer, and like they have to like just leave it open to get rain, and like just fester overnight.
It's gonna be like the judge trying to make gunpowder.
Yeah, there's gonna be bird shit in it. And they're, dude, I just want to see that because that's gonna be like the most authentic, like
who's the scrappiest,
like first man beer. Like walked out and he's like, my plant water's foamy today. What's going on? He's like, it kind of smells
like piss.
Yeah, weird. Let me take a sip of this. Oh my gosh! Oh, it tastes awful, but I feel funny. I do wonder.
Happy.
Yeah, I do wonder like what the first alcohol content was of like the first beer accidentally made.
Definitely, and that's funny. I thought you were gonna say we were gonna get them all in the room for like like a death match.
That is a death match.
But-
Like back to the roots, man.
Yeah, but with but where I think that the savagery of True would maybe come through. So
Yeah.
I will say this, I don't think those guys are as metal and as tough as the pictures on their t-shirts.
Did you go to the brewery?
No, but I think they're probably cool guys. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if they're like big warrior like types,
Viking
or
dudes?
if they're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of like
They're just
I like
emo metal
distorted guitar and
Yeah.
like gross pictures.
I will say that when I was there was a couple bartenders that didn't look like they gave two craps about metal or anything.
Yeah.
They were just like
Mhm.
keeping a job in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of people at their tap room for the chicken because
Mhm.
Music City chicken's dope.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see on their website there were some dudes and ladies who looked more metalhead. Honestly, I'd be more scared of the women.
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
Like some of the girls I saw there, I'm like, she's like the boss right before the final boss
Mhm.
at the end of a Resident Evil movie.
Yeah.
Like she looks like she's about to pull katanas out
With
and stab me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd be more afraid of the women they submit than the dudes. All that said, though,
War fighting.
warfare.
Warfare. I was given the I wasn't saying that,
Segue.
I was given a longer segue. I would say we're talking about fighting. I was like war fighting, like as in the movie
Warfare.
Warfare.
Okay. All right. Hey, Warfare, the movie. It came out rather recently, and I think it's done really well in theaters from what I understand. I think a lot of people got off their bus to go see it, but it's pretty much already almost done in theaters. There's been a lot of announcements that it's leaving soon. So if you want to see it, which, you know, if you're going to see it, the cinematic movie, big loudspeakers is the way to do it for sure. This is one of those movies where you won't, like, it's like Top Gun, right? You want to feel the jet engines in your belly. And so if you're going to go see this movie, go and see it in theaters, not at home, unless you have a, you know, great headset or a surround sound at home. But Warfare is a movie directed by Alex Garland, who we like here. We've reviewed and talked about a lot of his stuff. Just last week, we were talking about his new movie coming out 28 months later. Or 28 years later. Sorry, 28 years later. But he directed originally 28 Days Later, did Civil War, which we just discussed recently. One of my favorite movies, Dredd, which is, you know, the comic book adaptation of Judge Dredd. And then Ex Machina, which is a movie I really enjoyed. And then Annihilation, which is a movie we also did a Brews and Reviews on, which I don't know if Pat remembers. Because I enjoyed that movie. And Pat, I think, doesn't recall it because his brain has been annihilated.
Which movie?
Annihilation. Natalie Portman and the
yes.
researchers
Okay,
go
yes,
into the.
thank you. Now I
Yeah,
do
there you
remember.
go.
Okay. Yes.
Um,
I was like, I could not remember what that was to save my life.
And in this movie, there's also the co-director Ray Mendoza. Ray Mendoza is a retired Navy SEAL. He and Alex synced up on Civil War, where he was the coordinator for a lot of actual like military operation scenes, such as the final push on the White House, and then the push through the White House to get to the president. And so Alex Garland was like, hey man, this guy really knows his stuff. And in shooting that, Ray Mendoza and Alex talked, and Alex was like, you know, I really want to do just an honest, no like fluff at all, just accurate one-to-one depiction of what it was like to be, you know, in a battle, in war. So that way people get like the truth. And I want it to be like one-to-one to the experience of those who were there, and have multiple eyewitness accounts testifying like down to every detail. And Ray Mendoza was like, well, dude, I was a Navy SEAL in Ramada. Like we got stuff we can do. You know, I got plenty of scenes we could do. And he decided to actually, you know, they made the argument to do this because Ray was like, hey, I got a guy who was, you know, injured. His name's Eric.
Elliot.
Elliot.
That's
And Elliot was injured to the point where like through the trauma and stuff, he doesn't remember what happened. And I actually think it'd be cool if we made a movie so Elliot could see just kind of, the bravery and the, commitment that was there on those days to kind of really get him out and get him taken care of. And so that's why this movie's dedicated to Elliot, even though Elliot's not dead. Elliot is still with us and smiling ear to ear, and was even also a consultant on this movie to help outside of what he doesn't remember of the actual events, still help advise, how to train and how to conduct operations. So I thought that was pretty cool. Top cast is this new guy around the block, the Pharaoh Woon Ai Tai. The Pharaoh Woon Ai Tai. He played Ray Mendoza in the film. I haven't seen anything else he's been in, and I'm pretty sure he's just kind of very new on the block.
Yeah, the only thing I haven't seen it, but I actually wanted to see is Reservation Dogs. It's
he's in Reservation Dogs?
It's a show, and I don't know if he has a big role in it or not.
I didn't even see he had credit on that.
I don't know if it was a big role or not, or if he's in one episode. But I haven't wanted to watch that show. It's basically about kind of life on the reservation, Native American life. But
did you know it's based off of like the true story of those kids who made films in their parents' house on the res because their parents wouldn't let them leave? And it was like Native Americans kids who would just watch the VHSs and then reenact them on with their camcorder. Have you heard of that? I'll send you the video afterwards.
Yeah, no,
it's pretty crazy.
Watch that. I listened to an interview with the director writer of that show too. He's a pretty interesting guy. But anyways, all that to say, I want to check out that show. I haven't watched it at all yet. Have you seen any of that show? No.
I was excited to watch it, just never. It kind of came out right as I quit watching like any real cable, and I also just really shrunk down my streaming services, so I didn't see it. But also in the cast, top bill cast is Will Poulter. He plays Eric, who is essentially commanding. I don't think he's an officer. I think he's a sergeant, right?
I think he was.
Or was he an officer?
He would have been an officer.
He was an officer.
Yeah, he would have been an officer.
But he commanding officer of this SEAL Team 5 team. And then Michael Gandolfini, who is son of the legendary James Gandolfini. And he played Lieutenant McDonald, who was one of the Marine JTACs attached to the team. Which is crazy because you see him and you're like, man, kind of recognize that guy's eyes. Kind of recognize his nose.
Yeah.
And then you find out it's freaking James Gandolfini's kid, which is awesome. Cosmo Jarvis. I loved Cosmo Jarvis in the most recent big hit show on FX. It was Shogun. And Cosmo Jarvis just crushes that show. It's a 1-season show for anyone who's not looking for a big commitment. It's 1 season, 10 episodes, and it's about, the Portuguese and Spanish explorers that got to Japan, and Cosmo Jarvis, I believe if I remember correctly, plays a pirateer who found Japan for the English, and he's trying to essentially build an alliance between the English and Japan to defeat the Portuguese. But anyways, great show. Cosmo Jarvis here, excellent. I loved him. He was just a standout knockout guy. I think he's also in I think he's the lead for one of my favorite movies called Upgrade. It's like an indie action film where a little AI chip gets implanted and takes over his neurosystem and makes him fight without him having any control over his body. It's a very gory, violent film, but it's pretty sick. He's kind of, for a while, he was known as the poor man's what's our boy from The Revenant? Tom Hardy. He was for a while known as the poor man Tom Hardy.
Yeah, he does look like him a little bit.
Yeah, I think he looks like him a lot.
Yeah.
And then Taylor Jones Smith is the other one that I kind of felt was the top builder, most lines screen time, who plays Frank. He was the fellow sniper to Cosmo Jarvis's Elliot on the team, or Overwatch, I guess you could say. But anyways, that's kind of most of the top cast there, and the directors. And the plot for Warfare is essentially you immediately follow a platoon of Navy SEALs on a surveillance mission And the surveillance mission is in Ramadi, which is in
Iraq
at the time. Yep. And it's pretty. I won't say like you're following them minute to minute, because there are a couple of time jumps of like hours. But once shit hits the fan, it is minute to minute. It's like there is no skipping. There is no couple hours later. It's just like, holy shit! Like this is heart pounding, and it's not breaking away, and it's not giving you a break. But it was pretty awesome. And so you just really feel like you're there with them. And the cool thing is that it was all written and filmed from the perspectives of the team who was going through this, and every scene had to have 2 verified eyewitnesses to verify everything that happened. And so if a scene didn't have like 2 guys that were like, all right, yeah, we both remember this happening, they're like, all right, let's just focus on a different POV, because you'll see like it's absolutely chaotic, and there's definitely going to be lapses in a lot of dudes' minds where you need to fill that lapse. Like, man, I don't really remember what was happening now that I was just so focused.
Yeah.
And then you need to focus on the POV of like, you know, a couple other guys to get a full perspective. But I will say, before we get into spoilers, if you are expecting a classic American Sniper Operation Red Wing Lone Survivor, or even Saving Private Ryan, I would say leave those expectations at the door. This is not that film. And I know this may turn some people off from seeing it, but I don't think you see a single insurgent killed. I think you see a couple of them possibly take rounds, but this is not a film about killing bad guys. And you need to set that expectation down now. I did have that expectation going in, and I will say I was still very satisfied and blown away by what I did see. But I could see how you'd be disappointed if you're like, what the hell?
If you thought it was going to be just...
You thought it was going to be Rambo.
Yep.
So all I said, we're going to get into spoilers. If you want to see the movie, go see it. But we're going to start talking about, you know, our favorite scenes and stuff, and how the movie was filmed and the POV process, and, you know, the choices they made. So if you care about spoilers, check out now.
Yeah.
All right, Pat. Dude, the opening.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like, I was so stoked. At first I was really confused because it was literally...
Did you think you were in the wrong theater for a second?
Yeah. I was like, they're playing the wrong film, right? And the guy I went and saw it with, he was like, no, man, this is just the opening. I was like, weird. It's like a VHS grainy, like, I didn't expect it to take like the vignette VHS film effect. And then I realized it was like, oh, this is a music video. This is like an old 2000s music video to that song, that one song. What is that song? And what's it called?
Call on Me.
Call on Me. Yeah. Man, I kept on thinking it was Come on Me, and I was like, I know that's not right, but it was a pretty sexual.
According to that music video, could have been.
According to that, yeah. Come on Me. All right, sorry. No, I did not know. Like, as a kid who grew up, you know, a '90s kid, right, and really hit the prime of my youth in the early 2000s, and watched every single music video I could watch on Yahoo Music or Comcast Music or AOL or YouTube. I had never seen that music video ever in my life, but I know that song, Call on Me. And like, I mean, we jammed to it in the car all the time, especially like, I remember when I was going to youth group and it would start out, we're like bopping our heads in the car because like a couple of our high school friends are driving as we're going to the movie theaters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or wherever we're being hood rats that night. And just like they do in that opening scene, it just takes off and you're rocking the car and you're bouncing around and you're trying to break your friend's suspension and he's just like trying to pay attention. And dude, that scene just was awesome. Like immediately got my blood hyped, and I immediately thought, these men love each other. These men love each other more than almost anything else in the world. These dudes think everyone around them is a stud.
And they're just in the prime of their life.
Yeah.
Like it's it's very, very similar reaction watching it start. I was like, okay. And I kind of caught on a little bit quickly. It was like 2 seconds of like, wait, what the heck? And then I was like, oh, this is 2006, a long time ago. Okay. Like, and I'm like, oh, this is dudes in a deployment watching sexy ladies. Like, because what else are you going to do? Yeah. You know, and then it clicked, and then it like showed those guys, and like, as hard of a play, like, as horrible as war is and all the stuff and what you're going through, also that time in your life when you are 18 to 25 is like those prime years of camaraderie and like friendship and like this, like, you know, that the big dreams and closeness and feeling like you have your crew and like, and it's funny, of all these scantily clad workout ladies are like gyrating. I teared up right out the gate.
Really?
I teared up immediately.
Why? What was the trigger?
I was like,
nostalgia?
No, it was the love you saw for those guys for each other, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like
who's gonna die?
Exactly. Just like and caught up, and like I do think something they did really well in this movie was actually cast very young people as well. Mm-hmm. Like, because usually you have it's guys in your 30s as operators, you know, and like they're like, you know, and they're like burly and buff and like in it, and there are those guys for sure, but lots of Navy SEALs are like, you know,
children,
20, 22, like, you know, with huge expectations and huge hearts. But so I was just like, I saw that and I just was like, it struck me. I just was like, oh man, like it was half like tears of happiness and tears of like sorrow just in the same moment. Just like, oh man, like they don't even know what's coming for them. And this is awesome. You know, immediately I was emotionally grabbed into this movie, just like right off the bat, right out the gate, where, and it just put you, this movie, I think basically I felt like I was in there the whole time. Like it just immediately pulled you right into what was going on in there. And because you knew what this movie was going to be about, at the very least you knew it was going to be about fighting in Iraq, and with just these guys are like fist bumping and dancing and goofing around, but they're in their gear and have their guns. So like, you know, like this movie's not about being happy and slapping ass, you know, and like all this stuff. And so I thought it was awesome. And, you know, typically this would have been what you would do on base. Like you're either out fighting or sitting around with your buddies being like, and at this time, like really no real internet. It's just like, hey, like play the VHS again.
Oh yeah.
You know,
bro, I think the video I played over and over back in 2006 was some like Flash video. You know what I mean? It was like an animated Flash stick figure fight video, right? Oh, yeah. You know that's exactly what all these guys were watching, plus like whatever like low bit like thing they could stream.
The Maya He.
Yeah.
That guy dancing.
Dude, you know what it was? It was the friggin' frog guy.
Crazy Frog?
Crazy Frog, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Ding, ding. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's 100% it was. Anyways, it was pretty sick. I loved it. And for that scene too, cool little bit of trivia here. They filmed it 3 different takes, and they just did it like super low energy, like chilling, vibing. The other one's like kind of buddy bumping, medium energy, like doing slight dance, kind of like the what is it? Hitch. Like keep it here, keep it in here, keep it here. This is your space. And then they did high energy, like bounce around, shake each other, borderline mosh,
right?
And then that's just what they cut it with. Like they just cut the 3 together because they're like, yeah, these are all like, this is the way it is. This is the way it was building up. So yeah, I really thought that was a great opening. And then like when you see like, there is a level of whoa, this got real fast because when they're doing their nighttime reconnaissance and moving into the ops, and they're moving into op 1, 2, or 3 and deciding which house is which. I can't remember whose character was to who, right? Because they're all in nods and it's dark. But he's like, hey, and then he starts doing the like holding his rifle and hip thrust, just like the practice in the music video.
Yeah.
And then his other friend kind of starts leaning forward slowly and like lengths his arms out and does his own hip thrust and knees gyrate. And you're like, dude, in the middle of a place that if the lights clicked on, they would gun you down in the streets. You got a moment in the moonlight to make your buddy smile and laugh.
Exactly.
And then like I saw that and I was like, that is real. And anyone who thinks that's not real has never felt what it's like to like be training with a bunch of guys over and over and rehearsing, and then all of a sudden you get to go out and do the thing, and even then doing the thing you find out is sometimes boring, sometimes it gets like, you know, sedative, and you gotta just kind of like you goof around. Because one, you are the best. Like you're gonna be great, and you're the best, and you know the line that you can tell. And then as soon as like someone says, "Hey, we're moving,"
They snapped back to pro.
Yeah, back in. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, that was so real. And I wonder how many people see that and are like, no, man, that's not real. I'm like, dude, that's the realest shit.
Yeah, I think for most, it'll connect to a lot of guys. And I don't think you've ever had to beat a war to connect to it. Just being like, if you've ever been on
horsing around,
if you've just been either played any team sport,
you've been on a construction site.
But yeah, if you've ever done anything hard, it's not fun with other dudes. There's some sort of dark humor, banter, joke, flipping off somebody, and it's hilarious. You know, like. And so any guy who's done any sort of work on a team of any form knows this reaction. And then what's interesting too about this, like, and I'll speak to this a couple times as we're going through, is like the sound design in this movie was equally as powerful as the cinematography and storytelling, which is a piece of that. But there was no music in the whole movie besides the opening music video scene
and the credits,
and then the credits rolling. Yeah. And so you just have like. And there's like no character development, no story build up. Besides, it's just like you go from these guys in a room having fun watching a music video, snap to on patrol, and then they're goofing off a little bit, but then straight back to like 100% like professionalism as far as like doing their job, covering what they need to, and and then like the next scene is just. Basically, it gets a little bit exciting at the beginning too, which is good. Like draws us in even further where they are in the house, and it's like they sneak in these people's house and
they straight up are boogeyman, bro.
Yeah,
they
sneak
go
in
into
there
someone's house and steal their home.
Yeah, you wake up to a gun in your face and they say get in the corner, and I think that
it's not because they're bad people at all. It's like these people, house they need. These people that they're going into the home of, they're probably likely like innocent people.
And they're probably vetted as non-combatants.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to set up in their home for an Overwatch.
Yep.
And I think they gave good perspective to the local people. What would it be like to just wake up to a guy who's a stormtrooper, truly a stormtrooper from galaxies away with technology beyond your wildest dreams, like waking you up in your family in your bed, and then he's like, shh, sit in the corner. Yeah. And then they, and it gets intense and then they set up. Like it's getting intense, and they're like, and then all of a sudden, boom! It's just a bunch of guys sitting around. Daylight, they're all sitting in a house with all their gear taken off.
Yeah, you know what it really reminded me of immediately because of my brain rot. Shane Gillis' joke about like SEAL Team 6 just breaking in and jerking off Osama bin Laden as like just to fuck with him. Just he's stand-up comedian Shane Gillis, if you don't know who he is, but he's making the joke that like. How awful is it? Like pure black desert night. You got the curtains because you're a terrorist, and it's absolutely blackout in your room. You just feel someone grabbing your hands and legs, and you see kind of glowing green stuff on their face. Like don't move. And they just like start jerking you off. You can't do anything about it. And then they leave, and like I'm like, yeah, that's scary.
I mean, it is.
That is the first thing I thought of. Though.
It is violation on that level, just to be from the perspective of the guy in that house. You wake up
maybe not on that level, but it's like it's similar.
It's
intrusion.
I feel like equal to just waking up to another man in your house. Just like this is ultimate bad.
It's got to be even worse, man, because you can't see them when they get you first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just, and you got to know like they're there and they're controlling you. Yeah, no, that was pretty crazy. That was a very sobering thing. And I think that goes and sets the tone for the rest of the movie. They don't do anything to soften how offensive that is. Like I saw that and I didn't like it. Like, and I didn't know that happened. In all the books I've read of the accounts of like people who were over there, I have never read anything where I heard of a, non-combatant, like their home being sieged and used for surveillance in the middle of a very like highly dangerous, like, not a green zone. I've heard of stuff where like, yeah, we pay them. We're renting their house rooms and we're setting up comms and they're vetted. I've never heard of anything like what we saw in this movie. And to find out that's what they did every time, that was pretty
day in and day out. This would happen.
It was an honest thing. I felt like, and it felt like the movie was honest in the first 10 minutes. And you're like, wow, there's no glorification of that. This is actually pretty ugly and gross. And I don't like it. And it's like, yeah, because it's war, dude.
And one part of me, I just said it was maybe vetted people, but the other side being, actually, if you remember, the guy just decides he likes that house. Like they're also just,
I like this one.
It's just from a straight strategic tactical advantage. They just go, that's the house we need. Okay, take it. And it's just like, it is eye opening to kind of those parts of warfare. I think, and it goes, I think part of like the titling of this movie is definitely like, it's definitely intentional around the lack of enemy we see die.
Yeah.
And all the little aspects they bring into it are trying to give you a picture of what is warfare. And what is warfare? In this case was a lot of guys sitting around hot, just like sitting there.
A lot of boredom and then a whole lot of confusion. Which, is going forward, like, again, why I think that this intro does such a good job of setting the tone of the rest of the movie, because it's shortly hereafter that we see our characters starting to feel the all eyes on them, and the jig is up, and it becomes aware between the communications of these three ops, which I don't remember what. Oh, Outpost.
Yeah.
Outpost 1, 2, and 3, which are three different houses that SEAL Team 5 is like posted up in, and they are observing, and essentially they're doing here. There's not a specific guy they're looking for. They're literally just looking for combatants to shoot, which is why like everyone was moving so secretively through one building or the other and not moving with open carrying, because they knew if they were open carrying, there was a good chance they're just going to take a round from a hole somewhere they can't see.
Yep.
And they're observing, and they start realizing like there's too many guys being really obvious about how they're not trying to look at us.
Right.
In comms. And the same guy that we're seeing was just at OP2 and OP3 like 5-10 minutes ago. And that ratcheting of when things take off and how the rest of the movie paces itself off of that really does feel realistic, right? Like,
because it's a slow build. It
good is slow,
like 20 minutes to a half hour of like
before
of this stuff that like honestly, it was this stuff as I was watching it is making me think, I'm glad I didn't go do that. Like, from like, not from the blood and guts aspect, from the aspect of being like, they're like,
I can feel the sweat, dude.
They're taking notes, like, and just collecting data and taking notes while they're hot.
Bro,
it's like,
dude,
this is not fun.
As someone who's sat in an unair conditioned environment and long sleeve, like heavy cotton pants and shirts with a vest, you got to get up and walk the stairs.
Yeah.
And you got to get up and walk around here, and you got to get up and look over here, and all you got to do all day is watch and strum your fingers, keep them busy. Like, the sweat, dude. That's all I could think about when I was watching them. I was like, there's no way they're actually filming this on location.
Right.
because they're not sweating enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only thing I really, honestly, you asked me what I remember more than anything else from, being, a sheriff deputy or working in like corrections in the jail
Mm-hmm.
or working in armed security.
Mm-hmm.
Sweating.
He was hot.
I remember
the whole time.
sweating more than anything else in my life, dude. Because you just sweat so much in that heat from the weight of everything and having to like go do your rounds and walk. Yeah, dude, it was crazy. Like I get it, like it is boring, but it was also like cathartic seeing them there. It's just like, all right, I got to stay awake. I got to do push-ups. Cosmo Jarvis's character, the way you see, I saw him like shaking in the eye fatigue from being prone on his gut and having to breathe like that in that prostrated position. A lot of people like see snipers in movies and stuff, and I think they're like, yeah, they look comfy. It's like, dude, no, man, it is not comfy. Like most of the time, like you are comfy for the first 10 minutes, and then you start realizing like your back's arched, your chin can't really completely rest. And you just start getting weird sores and bruises.
Yeah, my back's hurting thinking about it.
Oh, dude. I mean, you know it from hunting. Like, what's the longest you've remained still hunting? And, like, how many hours do you think you could hold truly that stock still position?
Right, something like that, too. And like in something like that, yeah, it's like maybe an hour, and even then that's like, in a generally like in a more comfy sitting position. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it'll wear on you fast. And did you notice he was switching his eyes back and forth? That was like cool attention to detail on like, whereas like, even like he was switching which eye was looking through the scope, because that's something you actually like supposed to do, because you're gonna you look through a scope for 8 hours, dude.
Eye strain
Sounds
is real.
like a nightmare.
Yeah, I've noticed like even just on like my normal shooting days with a low powered magnification optic. That I get pretty intense eye strain after 4 hours shooting, let alone like a super high powered optic. Oh man, dude. Anyways, I know this sounds cringe to people who like haven't shot much maybe or something like that, but it's very exhausting. It's like an incredibly taxing thing. And then now like put it in the context of like,
this is dangerous for you.
This is your job. You need to do this because all the other guys are literally sitting here twiddling thumbs until you let them know, oh my God, there's people coming to kill us.
Yep.
And then and if you slack off and miss that, miss those details, all these dudes waiting around are just going to get fucked.
Yeah.
Anyways.
For sure. And,
go ahead.
And after, so you have this like buildup of that experience we're just talking through. And then the
clinka-tinka.
Yeah, dude, the grenade was ominous.
Sound effects was insane.
And it was, because it was so tiny and so nothingness. Like, and what I love about speaking back to the sound design of movies, like I said, how there's no music in it. There's also not a lot of, there's also no synths or bass or build up to like where you would.
There's no Michael Bay sounds.
Typically, yeah, you would be building during this whole time of 20 minutes. You would be building stressful, deep droning noises, and then it'd build up to when finally this grenade comes through the window. Instead of it being like dead quiet, guys are kind of like just transitioning from one spot to the other, like sitting around, and then it's like tink tink.
It's like, what the fuck is that?
And then it's like, you're dead.
Yeah.
And like and then that's when it like kicked off. And then
if anyone wants to see an actually great breakdown of that scene, watch the interview with the cast and both of the directors.
Oh yeah.
Because it shows the cast perspective of like what they were told it was going to be like, and what they were told, the experience was like, and then and like how they reacted to it, and why they did what they did, or like, and they argued for like their behavior. They're like, hey, I don't want to, like Cosmo was like, I don't want a stunt guy. I legit want to roll over this before the dust explosive goes off, because I kind of want to like just see for myself if I can beat the time. You know what I mean? And Ray was like, when he was in the interview, he was like, yeah, no, that distinctive sound was one of the things where I remember so clearly. You immediately knew off of the first, syllable of that clank. It was, as it like spoke into the room.
Yeah.
Everyone knew immediately what it was, and the reason DeFaro rolls like that is because Ray was like, that's exactly how I rolled. I immediately just rolled over myself through the doorway right next to me, so that and I let my comms and everything just get like snagged and unplugged, and I left my gun because I knew that was a grenade, and I had no idea where it was.
Right.
It could have come through any of the windows on the second floor, and I just remember seeing the way DeFaro rolls. I was like, that is so clean, dude. That is a role that that actor practiced like a dozen times to get right.
I agree, and I think that I also like as guys are communicating in this, they also, while they're like professional, they actually throw in the imperfections of humans in all the comms. Like even when ISR is speaking, he's like, okay, we got 3 combatants coming left side to right side, OP1, Spectre 1, get well actually.
Did you notice they like 3 times he messes up in cardinal directions and corrects?
Right. So they like
Spectre is like east, not east, west,
right.
moving west.
Right. So like they left like how people are.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, we are death. We are like we are, like we, there's no, that kind of, that cool opening of Mission Impossible. There's like, there's no humanity in this like communication. So like similarly, like that grenade in a normal movie, it would have been like ka-tink tink, grenade, but instead it was like ka-tink.
Someone
ka-tink.
jumps on it.
Yeah, it was like ka-tink tink, and it was like nothing said. Then one guy's like, "What was that?" Grenade.
Did someone say grenade? I can't even remember.
Yeah,
if
someone says
said
it. They say it, but they say it way too late.
Oh yeah,
like it's just too late. It's just like grenade. Like it's like they might as well just like said it. Like it might as well not said it. So, anyways, I appreciated the way they do that is another way that makes this so real and pulls you into it. And one thing a lot of people would say like, oh, everybody in that room would have been dead from a grenade.
No.
Well, if it was an American grenade, actually, yeah, probably.
Maybe.
But luckily, like it was,
some Russian
some
surplus.
Belgian, caca, so, but it still hurt guys and stuff. But then from that point on, the movie just then, like, it does take some like breathers throughout, but at this point on, it's just, now it's game on,
Yeah.
And they have all their crap everywhere. Which
it's
like,
everywhere.
Like were you thinking as it was leading up? I was like, no one's got their helmets on. Like they got their crap everywhere. I was like, when this started,
I was like, thinking that? I was like, because it's fucking hot. They're sweaty.
Right. Well,
I was like, I'm not wearing my helmet.
Right. Well, I was like, I know that this is how I would be. I would take all my stuff off. I also know that this is going to be a problem when it starts. And then a grenade goes off in that room. They're missing guns. They're missing all their gear, all their dip cans. Yeah, that's a problem. You lost the dip can.
Seeing them being legit about dip was sick.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I love that.
Like he got off. The only reason he got off the sniper rifle, he didn't need to stretch. He could have stayed on there for 8 more days if he had a log next to him.
Bro, dude, but the way there was that moment of shared eye contact of like, I see you with the log in your mouth.
Yeah,
and the homie's just looking back at him like, now what log? And he's like, and like it was like that unspoken like, are you gonna share?
Yeah.
It's like nothing was said, and I was just like, dude, that's real.
There's another one of those kind of goofing moments.
Oh yeah,
it makes it real.
I think too. All right, so like the grenade goes off, right, and then everyone's scuttling about, and this was, I think, the second sign of like me getting frustrated, but also then was like having a like, wait a second, like a pause moment. And it was when they're trying to essentially, what's it called?
Blood sweep?
Not blood sleep, but like essentially do a breakdown. Or were they calling it breakdown, or were they calling it collapse?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, all right, we're going to collapse down to the first floor because second floor is compromised. They're like, well, we can't leave because all of our shit's in the room. And like the way there was the paralysis about going into the room, even though there was no combatants in the room and combatants couldn't see into the room, there was a paralysis, a true fear of going into that room to get people's shit. And I was like, okay, let me step outside of my like, training with other military guys and stuff experience. Let me like put on my lenses of Hollywood and like a normie kind of stuff and just try to like view this for like, is this supposed to be something that's easily like suspend disbelief? These hard-hitting, pipe hitters are afraid to go in that room and get their shit. Or is this what happened? Is this what happened in the true panic, heat of the moment, fear of like, fuck, like we got injured and we have people going into shock and we actually don't want to go in that room unless we absolutely have to. And that was and it's the latter. It's the latter is what it was. But for me as like a first time watcher, I was like, what's going on? Is this suspend your disbelief on a small set, or is this like what it really happened? And after they collapsed downstairs and have retrieved that gear, that's like when things started connecting for me, and they're talking about how they're moving through and going to stay on the ground level and bringing in Cassavac for the injured, was when I was like, oh my gosh, this is not a movie that is going to show a fictional narrative of glory. This is a movie that is going to show all of the ugly, like accurate, like, yeah, no, it was pure terror. It was pure fear. Mistakes were made.
I lost my faculties.
And I wasn't ready or prepared, or, I dropped the ball and I panicked. And like, the reason that one really stood out to me was the guy who goes in initially. I can't remember who it is that goes initially to find the gear of the two guys that were on Overwatch.
And he says he can't find it.
He can't find it.
It's Ray.
Oh, it's Ray.
Yeah, Ray goes in there and he's like scared.
Yeah.
And he's like,
he's scared and he's like, I can't fucking see it. And he comes out and you're like, dude, what? Really? Like my immediate thought was like, really? You can't find it? It's, the 20-pound Kevlar vest with gear on it. You were tripped over it when you walked in. And then, a more senior, I think it's Elliot or Eric. Yeah. They go in and grab it and then come back out. And you're like, damn. That's really fucking real. Because, how many times have I been, even in just like a non-real life stress scenario, but just rehearsal training scenario, doing like, not even live fire practice, like our CQB stuff, not seeing shit. And if it was a snake, it would have bit me. And that was when I was like, oh, there's not going to be a moment of glory in this. That's not true or deserved. Like anything someone does that you're like, damn, that was brave, that was glorious. It's going to be the truth.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think it was Ray, because I remember thinking like, that's the dude. That's the guy directing the movie. And he's not
the hero.
He's not the hero. He's not like grooming himself to look good on the camera.
He's like, I was 19 or whatever. I was 22.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate those parts of this movie, because
that's the majority of the movie. The majority of the movie is Navy SEALs being very human,
getting their butt kicked.
Yeah.
And because I think too, like what's interesting too is we don't know at what point in their deployment this was. Like lots of these guys, like even if they were a new guy, they'd probably never been anywhere before if you're this young or whatever. And like, then there's the classic thing of like the high school football team that's never lost. Or the bully that's never been punched. What happens when the first time that perfect Christian Valor down the road in Denver, they get a touchdown scored on them by the little team?
Yeah.
What happens?
World shattered.
They start falling apart, right?
Yeah.
Or the bully punching the nose for the first time collapses. So similarly to like these kids, in a sense, I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm top dog. I've never, and there's a guy we'll talk about later who really embodies like he's still doing this thing, but I want to bring him up later. But just kind of like, I'm a big man. This is like, I'm the best of the best of the best of the best that ever was, sir. And like it's like no, actually, like
you're in the way.
Yeah, like
you're a detriment right now,
right?
Dude.
And there's that, and then also the like just being like, oh my God, like this got scary. And I this actually on a very small scale, this happened to me where I realized it was just this was like almost 20 years ago now. So I was a kid, but I was like, I'm brave. I can handle my shit. I was at a paintball range.
Yeah.
And this guy, I had a freaking Tippmann 98, just tink, tink, tink. And
I have no idea, but
it's about single shot classic. Like, and this other guy had the Angel dual digital trigger.
Oh.
And like, I had the high ground and he was just laying down cover fire on me. He was given the dual trigger on this like wood behind me. Yeah. It was hitting by my face, paint splattering on my face. And he was doing the reload. Like like shooting while he's reloading in the hopper.
Oh yeah.
And I got scared, dude. And I was just like, I lost my whole like thing. And I just was like, I'm not cool. I'm freaking a wuss, you know? And so, I realized that's obviously not the same like thing, but just like that kind of going from like, I'm ready for this, I can do this, over to, and they really showed this through the new guy, the pig gunner who was new, the machine gunner, I don't remember his name, but he was the young guy who he like the rest of the movie, he just stared blankly, right? Like, and he was all like
frozen, dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's funny you say that. Mine was running away from home.
Yeah. Like,
my mom said, I told my mom I was leaving and I had my bag packed, my duffel bag. I was like second grader. She's like, all right, be careful. Take a jacket. And I walked out, bro, and I got like, in my brain, I got like a mile.
Yeah, a good 100 feet.
And I was like, it's fucking dark. I'm going to be cold soon. And I turned around and came out back.
Mm-hmm. I'm
not tough.
Yeah, when reality strikes, it's like, okay, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
And that's what it was showing these guys go through.
Oh yeah, which is in no way to take it away from their heroics and
they're ballers.
What they did, because it's human.
Mm-hmm.
And their training made them more than human. You know what I mean? Their training made them like someone who can succeed in that environment. And survive that in that environment, but it was still a way of like you see in the beginning. Like, I mean, you were right. Like a lot of this movie is the SEALs getting kicked in the teeth, and like not in the lone survivor. We kill like a dozen guys before we jump down the mountain and roll around, but in the like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if we're killing anybody.
I mean,
like,
it's all they do is cover fire and suppressive fire.
Well, I think
when it's just like shoot out the window at something.
Yeah, part of me thinks that like they made it was a real intentional choice to not show them killing anyone, because in warfare you might not be aware of,
you don't know if you hit somebody or not,
and like especially when you got rounds coming from 3 cardinal directions, you're like, I put rounds north, I'm pivoting east, I'm pivoting west, and you're like, I don't know if I killed anyone in those directions, but the guy from the north and the west stopped shooting, so now I'm going to shoot at the guy at the east. And anyways, all that said, it was pretty phenomenal, and when the IED goes off, right, like we get this crazy visceral scene of one of the like translator support Iraqis blown up.
Before you get into that part,
okay.
There was 2 things I wanted to mention. It was one, when the firefight breaks off after the grenade, those bullet snaps. I've never heard bullet snaps in a movie sound so real, and firing inside of a building.
Yeah,
I was like,
I heard it was better in IMAX. I went and saw it, and I thought it was like still pretty good, like audio. I heard in IMAX it was actually like people's ears are ringing from the IMAX theater.
I didn't know. I mean, and just like it was like, I mean, they didn't like.
It sounded like real gunshots.
Yeah, somebody like held the microphone up, like they set the mic in that room and then went and shot bullets in there.
Well,
like,
actually, yeah, no, sorry. To be fair, I'm pretty sure none of the fire was CGI. I'm pretty sure every round was a blank, if I remember correctly from like behind the scenes. Wow. Yeah, which looks true, because one of the most telltale signs with like muzzle flashes and stuff in movies is even in daylight scenarios, they'll brighten the room, which doesn't happen. Like if you shot a gun, you can shoot a gun in a mildly lit afternoon room. There's not going to be a muzzle flash. And so it's one of those things that, like, if I remember correctly, everything was. The audio was dubbed, right? Or it was, done from a different mic. But if I remember correctly, all of the rounds fired were live blanks.
Like, I think it must, like that, what's the M240, whatever, the pig gun. Yeah, like that was, I think the dude was standing in there with ear pro, like shooting, like the sounds, I was like.
The chugging was real.
I was like, oh my God, this is like crazy. And then the snaps of the sound of bullets coming at and past you, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really wild. Yeah. And so that was just another like kudos to the sound design in this, and then the next part where these poor interpreters, they were sent out there as bait. 100%.
Again, no,
They didn't-
no hiding.
Yeah, they didn't
that.
hide what they did. And I mean, and guys will say this. I mean, like here's the deal. We were in a country fighting people, but we were also trying to stand up their own army. And there were people there who wanted to fight. At this point, 2006, Saddam had fallen. We had then taken the country, and then we were building up their army. And then we had insurgencies coming in from all over that were they were foreign fighters coming in, establishing themselves. And at this point, the majority of people we were fighting there were not Iraqis.
Yeah.
There were some Iraqis. The majority of people we were fighting were insurgents who were coming in. And so there was a fighting force, and we were trying to stand up armies for these countries to then defend themselves. And there were mandates where you had to like take X amount of guys with you on an op. You had to.
Yeah.
And
God,
and-
that was so ugly though, Pat. Dude, like that was who calls it? Is it Joseph Quinn's character? Who's the one that's like hold before
Yeah.
letting them out?
Well, because the interpreters are talking to each other in Arabic, and they're like, they
They're
want
gonna-
us to go out there first
We're
to
gonna
die.
Yeah.
And then he's
So
like, then he's like, don't worry about it. We're going to go out there. And then, whoever it was who, I don't remember who it was who held him back. It was Eric or who it was, but they send him out there to clear the street. And they hold for like 25, 30 seconds.
I'd be coming back. But like for how long they held, I'd be like, hey, wait a second, you're not out there.
I mean, they really, they sent him out there, and
Yeah.
they're like, if they get lucky, they'll shoot somebody. If not, they're taking the fire. And I mean, that was an honest part of the movie.
So dark.
Just like,
So dark.
You know,
I hated it, dude. I hated it.
I hate it. And I'm twofold. One side of me goes,
I get it.
all right, boys, it's time for you to start kind of ponying up on like what, defending your country
Yeah.
from these people coming in. The other side being, holy shit, these guys with no training and a crappy AK are going to go out there and get smoked.
Yeah.
And I bet this sort of thing happened
All
a
the
lot,
time. All the time.
And I mean, they held him back, and it was like that was another scene that was very like, oh, because at first I was like, oh, they're not leaving him like hanging, they're just being cowards. And then it was like, oh no, they sent him out there,
Yeah.
100%.
It was ugly, but it was honest.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure that happened all the time. Because truth be told, if I was put in that situation and someone was like, hey, here's some interpreters, they are likely to abandon you.
Yeah.
Faced any kind of pressure of threat. They may even be lying half the time they're translating for you.
They might even betray us.
Yeah. They could shoot you in the back, which did happen. Watch that Sean Ryan episode. Pretty fucking crazy shit. Yeah, they like, you're like, why would I let my guys take heat when I could send them out to take heat? Especially if they're just going to be a commodity that's wasted and they're just going to abandon us in the heat, which was tough to see because it's like, it's pretty brutal. But at the same time, you're seeing it and you're like, yeah, that dude did just run away as soon as the ID ran off. He was not seen again.
Yeah.
The other one's blown in half.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that was the most realistic depiction of like
That was
gore I've
gnarly.
ever seen.
That was pretty gnarly.
I've never seen someone do a better chest cavity than what I saw there. Because honestly, I was like, when I found out that was a dummy and not just like the actor with a bunch of makeup, I was like, that's the best looking dummy I've ever seen in my life.
Yep. Because that IED goes off, and then that whole like coming to scene was pretty incredible. And this is where in the sound design of this movie, they really use negative space well, where earlier we were talking about Michael Bay type, womp, 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 womp stuff. Listen, in music, similarly, you can have two guys on a stage, and the less they play sometimes really makes it powerful. And what they used that in this movie, where you pull out all the sound, you pull out everything, and it does give that shell shocked effect, but also like it, the way throughout the rest of the movie, the way it paces things and stuff. And so, but during this scene where, they're all coming to and they're talking like they're underwater, it's like, and you don't actually, and you can't tell which character's who.
No,
For
it's
the
pretty
first,
hard.
like it takes a couple
I didn't know
minutes
who
to
was
see who was
actually
hurt,
injured.
who was
Yeah.
dead. And I was like, my first thought, I was like, okay, they're all dead except for one. was kind of like what I think is going to happen. Then it's like, okay, no, like they're not all dead, but like 2 guys are real messed up. The Iraqi force guys are dead and gone. And like, but that whole scene, as they're coming to, guys are realizing they're wounded. They're screaming. That was a gut wrenching scene when the guy just starts screaming, when it's still muted and muffled and he's screaming, help me, or oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I can't remember what he was saying over. Just over and over again. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, it's like someone get him, someone help him. Yeah. But everybody else is, what the cool thing about it was it showed each person's like experience, meaning like, you'd be like, well, why aren't you helping the guy over there who's all his legs are blown up? It's like, well, because I just also like, took on an extreme
I don't know what the
injury.
Fuck is going on.
And while I'm not missing my legs, I actually I'm probably have a major TBI now. Like I'm seriously injured, and concussed and all this stuff. And so then as they're coming to, they start helping their buddies. I think one of the wildest experiences in this was they're pulling, what's his name? The guy, his legs are banged
Elliot.
up. But the other one.
Joseph Quinn's character, Sam.
Yeah, Sam, they're pulling him in. And as they pull him through the door, it's like they have used that negative space. Now they have used a bunch of sounds to help build it. It's like now there's like whooping and all this stuff, and it's full. Your ears are full. Oh my God. Like it's super cinematic, and there's this muffled screaming and people crying out and gunshots. And then it just cuts to a guy screaming, like it's clean. It's like if you were standing in the room next to somebody screaming, not I'm in a movie. And did you feel that when they cut to him just screaming?
Oh yeah,
and it just was like
I've heard that scream in my real life years, and it like actually like made me actually start sweating. Like I remember in the movie theater, I felt my armpits sweating.
It made it so real.
Yeah,
it wasn't like, oh, this is cinematic. A guy Saving Private Ryan, guy on the beach screaming, crying. No, it's like there's 4 guys in a room, and one of them is just
dying,
screaming, and I'm sitting in here with them. And I thought that was incredibly done, and really like just it during that scene, I wasn't in the movie anymore. I was just watching this ethereal thing happen.
Yeah, you're in the room,
and then it sucked you straight back into the room with them. Yeah. It was like, whoa. And so I thought that was a wildly well done little piece there.
This next moment in the film is probably the hardest one, I think. Just, of course, viscerally to watch. It's very graphic. It's very hard to watch, especially if you've, I think, seen, trauma like this, whether from working in an ER or, in an emergency situation or, in the military. For me, though, man, the hardest thing watching it was realizing, like, damn, the fucking education you and I have received on TCCC came out of this shit.
Right.
It came out of the lessons learned from here. Because if you have gone through any real, like,
even super basic
critical combat care of anything, and done the scenarios and rehearsed it, like, rather than just watching PowerPoints, holy smokes, you see this and you're just pulling out your hair and screaming, because they don't even get started on applying tourniquets for probably 20 to 30 minutes post the actual injuries caused from the IED. And at that time, like, you're just seeing, like, they've already left, snail trails of fucking blood. And these dudes are like, I mean, they've lost leaders at this point. And it's brutal. And like, you even see, I believe it was it Ray, or was it the Gandolfini's character? They're attempting to apply a tourniquet, and from the adrenaline dump, they can't get their hands to stop shaking to thread it.
They both apply tourniquets in
both of them
very late. But so
Yeah.
Gandolfini's character,
he tries going over the boot.
going over the boot of a mashed potato leg.
Yeah.
He's trying to, and then remember what he says?
He's like, oh, that's not gonna work.
Oh, that's not gonna work.
Oh man, dude.
And I think part of they put this scene in there to speak to this, like the lack of, training use around some of this medical care at the time.
Yeah.
And because
because the sad reality is you're watching this and you're realizing like these Navy SEALs they've been given their tourniquets and told like, yep, use this to stop bleeding in the extremities.
And they maybe said in the worst, absolute worst cases, use it.
Yeah. And then they probably never had to role play it. They probably never had to practice or rehearse, right? Like you're seeing that and you're like, holy fuck, that's someone who's never had to put it on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man,
and then Ray's struggling to thread it through, bloody, slippery hands, shaking, adrenaline dumps.
And Cosmo's character, Elliot, was their medic.
Yeah, so and he's the one who's down the worst.
Yeah, and this was before you had team-wide training on TCCC.
Mm-hmm.
So like nowadays, we had our guy Brujo do the training for us in our security team, but he discussed how like every Army Ranger now gets this training to the same standard. The only person who's getting like more training when it comes to like finer application is your actual 68 whiskey medics. But most guys now have full breadth of experience and training on TCCC, because when your whole team knows it, you don't come into the scenario where it's like, oh, our medic's down, what the fuck do we do?
Exactly. And I think the studies he showed us was like, it was starting like 2010 or 2012, like, and then there was like, since then, since they started doing this, they've had like huge success in saving lives.
Well,
right?
they had a whole year. The U.S. Army Rangers had got to a point where they had a whole year where there were no preventable combat deaths.
Right.
Where everyone who was injured and had a survivable injury survived, which is crazy, because you watch this movie and by the end of it, you're like, wait, those dudes are alive?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought those dudes were dead, bro.
Yeah, like done, fully done. Yeah, I mean, the fact that also like Elliot's character, I thought he was dead for that 30 minutes. I was just
it was so funny. I was sitting there with my buddy, we'll just call him manager. He's the manager of the movie theater, and he took me for free to go see the movie. And when Cosmo's character Elliot goes, I immediately gasped. I was like, oh my God, he's alive. And he leans over to me. He's like, that's so funny. All of us did the same thing the first time we were watching it. And it was so funny.
And I actually felt bad for him.
Oh man. Cause they wrote him off.
Well, no, but I was like, wish I was dead. Like, wish he'd stayed dead. Kind of like, just like coming back to the reality of this painful, horrible thing. And
I think what was crazy was they hide his eyes, right? And you're just looking at them dusty ass ballistic lenses.
Yeah.
And then when they pull them off, and you just see how wide his eyes are, just staring blankly at the ceiling. And you're like, oh my God. You don't realize how much pain the man's in until those glasses come off. And then you realize you're like, this dude is on a whole nother planet of pain. It's insane. He's talking right now.
Oh yeah, and the
props there to the acting, you know
for real,
I mean?
and then speaking to the wound specifically, like a bullet would be so much better than this crazy
white phosphorus,
white phosphorus shrapnel. I mean, truly going from a hole and jellied leg and like messed up stuff, which is already horrible, to like literally
still burning,
mashed potato, eviscerated, like through a meat grinder,
jelly leg.
And then and then like they start cutting the pant legs up on Elliot first, and you're like, oh, this is like, it's literally done. Like he's done.
Yeah.
And then they start cutting on the other guy, dude, and that gash.
Sam?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, oh, there be his dick. I was like,
I was like, oh, uncircumcised.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, I want to interview.
He's English.
Yeah. I want to interview everybody on what do you think when you saw that scene. They'll be like, anteater, not German Army helmet. That's what I thought. But I mean, and it was quick. But hey, we're quick on the draw. We've had lessons. We're from a time when you would shower in a gym next to other men, and you'd establish quickly.
I remember that scene. I was watching it. And I was like, "Oh damn, is that like some meat coming out of his leg?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's just ball sack." I was like, as someone who's had that. Here's what was crazy for me when watching that scene. I actually did have a little bit of like weird. Kind of like, I know this is cringe to say, but I was a little triggered because when I broke my femur.
Oh, yeah.
And I was upside down and I was trying to figure out how to straighten it.
Which way your leg went?
I was screaming like him, dude. I screamed like him the whole time the ski patrol EMTs were trying to straighten the leg and set it on the mountain. And dude, when we got down the mountain, they... as soon as they got me into the clinic to do x-rays and stuff, they cut that pant leg up so fast and my nuts were out, dude. Yeah. My nuts dropped and I was like, oh, okay, all right.
That's the day your balls dropped, in fact.
Well, I was in 8th grade, man, and I was like, that's how I knew it was serious. Because as an 8th grader, no doctor or nurse is looking at your nuts unless it's a big deal. And, when they no hesitancy, we're like, all right, we're taking them off, and they just, and I was like, oh, I'm naked. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked up. Yeah. I'm messed. I'm not going to school tomorrow.
And as that gash in his leg was so high and so wide and open, I was like, I leaned forward. I think the guy next to me in the movie theater, I don't know, there was 3 of us in the movie theater. The guy there's 3 of us in the whole theater. Somebody sat 2 seats from me. I was like, fine, bro. But the whole movie, I was like sitting up forward, like hands under my chin, and then I was like lean my chair back again, and then like sitting up again, like breathing heavy, and then but during that thing, I was like, oh shit, like God, cause it's just like. That looks bad.
Yeah.
So it just looked so. It ended that moment. You're like, oh, that's why he's been screaming.
Yeah.
We knew he was hurt, but it's just also like, oh, yeah, go on, scream on.
Oh, it's still glowing.
Yes.
That's still some green fire coming out of his leg.
Yeah, keep on screaming, buddy. That's you're allowed to.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. And it, here's one thing that I kind of, I don't know if I have I'm not very firm on this opinion, but part of me thinks that Gandolfini's character, Lieutenant McDonald, I think he had more lines than Ray, than DeFaro. And I know DeFaro was our kind of main character, the captain of the team. Eric was... He also had a fair amount of dialogue and lines, but it really felt to me like Gandolfini remained the most competent and able to dialogue throughout the entire thing, because Captain Eric's character by Will Poulter,
after the ID, he was smoked.
It was the ID and the doing the blow. What's it called? It's like a bip. It's like blow in position, but it's when they detonated the claymores while they're in place. Yeah. And that fucked him up. Yeah. Cause ID I think definitely blew his diaphragm or something, but his brain was rattled after that concussion. But of all the characters, we see Ray, and Ray's out of action for a good a couple different times, but in total he's out of action totally traumatized, non-communicative, and just in shock for probably 15-20 minutes almost, where it's just open mouth staring, trying to figure out what to do and just confused. And Lieutenant McDonald by Gandolfini, he's way more at least from an audience perspective, processing, outside of himself. And he's not negative. His processing manner is not negative. We see later on that one SEAL come in, and his manner of processing the combat is just kind of slapping and kicking everybody, telling everybody to toughen up. Hey, let's go get this shit. Which is the negative exterior processing. That is a man who is not aware of his surroundings while processing information. and is making things worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think Gandolfini's character is portrayed here as being like a guy who's like, he's out of his depth for sure.
Yeah.
But the way he's processing things is right.
Mm-hmm.
He's not making it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me thinks like he should have been the perspective of the main character if they weren't gonna, if they decided we're not gonna give Ray more dialogue, because I'm Ray, I'm the director. I know there was like 20 minutes there where I was like, literally all I could think in my brain was keep my knee here so he doesn't die. And I wasn't aware of anything else going on. I didn't say anything to anyone. I'm like, okay, I get that perspective. Maybe then it warrants shifting the main POV to someone else who was there. And I get that, you know, that, I mean, it's a nothing sandwich because it doesn't really change the experience of the movie. I was just surprised at how little the lead had to say, like how little dialogue DeFaro really had. Because, I mean, I don't know. Do you think I'm wrong? It felt like 20 minutes of him not having anything to say because he is seriously stunned.
Yeah. I think that yes, in part, but the other part being like, I think that's kind of what they wanted us to experience was his
shock.
And
yeah, honestly, like though, I mean, if it was you, man, I'd probably do the same thing. Like I wouldn't want to look at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would put my knee on your wound after stuffing that puppy.
Yeah.
And I would look away. I'd look over as far away from your face as I could because I wouldn't want to look at your face.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing I also appreciated as someone who's practiced a lot of wound packing. They did a good job with wound packing.
They packed
that looked realistic as hell to me, dude. And I was like, part of me was like, nah, man, he'd be fighting and like wiggling around more. I was like, well, actually, he wouldn't if his legs were super duper fucked up. Like you can't wiggle your legs when they're that broken.
No, yeah, for sure. And the and so then as they kind of like the scene where I was the whole scene where like they're just messed up in the house, they're trying to regroup, all that stuff, you know, is like that part for me was just stressful. I'm in it, but then I got pumped again during the ISR feed of the boys coming to help.
Yeah, bro. When you see
and
the guys collapsing from Outpost 2.
And it's just their little thermals, and you can see them moving and just hitting people, and you're like, let's go.
Oh, yeah, bro. I was sitting there with the manager, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, those are the SEALs.
Yeah.
Okay, those are also the SEALs.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you know? I'm like, it's just that formation, baby.
Yeah.
Like the way they are moving and the way they're covering and setting up, you just know that is a different level of training compared to the randos squirming around between the houses.
Exactly. But I was like, let's go. And then that was, you know, they're moving in there, they're getting after them. And like those boys hadn't been punched in the mouth yet. So they were still like
they'd taken fire, but they hadn't been.
They were under fire, but meaning like they weren't in the same state as these other guys who like say equal capability.
Yeah,
you know, the other guys were just like beat down. These guys had been in a firefight, but they weren't beat down yet. And so like when they come through the door, I felt relief. That like,
bro, when I saw them shooting and moving, I was like, I'll be honest. First, I was like, man, dude, is that guy who's the lead, the sergeant of that team coming from Outpost 2? Is that the actual Ray Mendoza? Because that guy doesn't strike me as an actor. That guy strikes me as the dude who did the shit. It wasn't the actual Ray Mendoza. It was just a really good actor moving. But there did feel to me like a difference in between the platoon squads. Like the squad collapsing from Outpost 2 felt to me like these are boys who have been here and already have been through what our other guys are going through.
Right. And as they come in and they push into this room, you're just like, I was imagining what's the relief like when you got everybody back together, and it's like you got you're safer, you have help, like just that, like the ability to have that help come in there, you know, and then like the two pig gunners go up on the roof and just hammer down, dude.
Unreal,
those pig gunners
dude.
on the roof are like those are the coolest guys of the whole movie. Honestly, they're just laying down.
I will say
laying
this
it
too,
down up there.
like the shooting, the moving and shooting was flawless.
Oh yeah.
Like, especially like now having done some CQB stuff, like seeing the way those guys move and like had it squared away for a film. I'm watching it and I'm like, wow. Like, especially when they're on the street, right? And you see the guys kneeling and fully aware of the, man behind them doing standing overwatch. And there's not a moment of flagging. I didn't see one flagging throughout the whole film. I don't know if you did. I was looking for it. I was like, dude, these guys don't flag 1 second.
They had it down, and I think and this is kind of standard now for like a Navy SEAL or Spec Op movie. Like you go to a mini boot camp and get trained, But these guys did do like a good 3-week long workup all together, getting trained by.
The dudes who were there.
The dudes who were there.
Ray did the training.
Ray did the training, and his buddies came in and did the training with him. And so, I was listening to one actor interview, and he was talking about, like, because one guy's like, so was it scary or hard? You're like doing the training and trying to not be a wuss with these SEALs there and all this stuff. And he's like, honestly, all the boys, it was hard, but we were like, the guy was kind of onto it. He's like, do you know how much money people pay for this level of training? Like, they're like, we were all pumped. It was awesome, and then I think that 3 weeks of training there led to that first scene being so effective. Oh yeah, because they did have that little bit of brotherhood, camaraderie on this project together.
Some of the trivia that I have here is that they all stayed in the same hotel.
Okay,
and they made sure that all the rooms in the hotel that they were renting had all the actors and all of the advisors adjacent to each other.
Okay.
So actors would have their own room, but then like they'd be right next to another advisor or something, which was either active duty or retired SEAL. And so they were in the hotel for 5 weeks.
Just hanging out.
Like rehearsing and going over shit. Which I think it shows because, to your point too, man, those two guys on the M249s on that rooftop,
the cover and move was legit.
One thing you could tell when it's CGI, and they're not using blanks, is the posture of leaning into that firearm. And you see those guys take that like not totally grounded kneel. Because a totally grounded kneeling stance, when you put your knee to the ground, you can feel it essentially break the tension from your calf to your gluteus maximus. Like you can feel it break the tension of your calf flexing to your butt. And therefore, when you're shooting, it pushes you back and makes you want to put your butt to your heel. But you watch the movie and you see the way those guys take the stance and kneel, and they never let their knees touch, so they never break that muscle tension. So that way they can maintain that accurate full fire down range without like having them like seating backwards. And I just saw that and I was just like, damn, that is such good attention to detail. I mean, I've never shot a fully automatic weapon.
Right.
But I know a lot of guys who have. And a lot of those guys, have told me and shown me like, hey, here's you can tell the difference between like someone who knows what they're doing and someone who doesn't. And the biggest thing is like how your full body is engaging to handle full auto recoil. And dude, they did it like flawlessly, and it looked amazing. It looked like guys who had been really trained on how to do it.
I thought that part was sweet.
Yeah, and like again, that's the thing. Like, right, you got two guys going full auto with belt feds on a rooftop, and that's when you expect them to just be like stacking bodies in the street. You have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea just as much as they have no idea.
Yeah.
And
all they know is they haven't been shot.
And even they get overwhelmed with fire, and they're like, we can't hold this. We got to go back. Like, we can't hold the roof.
And they're crawling out of there.
Yeah.
And then during that scene, also, back and forth downstairs, you've got the SEALs have come to reinforce. They're back together. And I was thinking about this because we saw Eric, Alpha 1, he's messed up and we know it, but we know he hasn't let his team know it yet because they've got other things going on.
I'm so happy you're saying this.
And they're like,
because this is what I really want to say too.
And because they're always like, hey man, like blood sweep, check you out. Like they're checking each other out. Everybody's getting checked out. But like he's clearly not okay. He is bad. Like,
And no one's done a blood sweep
and
on him.
I was expecting him to be like,
The dead
eventually
guy.
a blood sweep comes out and he's like, he's going to die.
Yeah.
You know, it comes to, you know, hindsight, you know, they were really speaking to brain injury and like impact of that. But Alpha 2 comes in and backing up a little bit, remember, and I guess the guy's name must have been Jake who played him. Because Jake, Charles Melton was Alpha 2. Because
he says his first name.
Because the freaking other platoon or squad's not getting to him. They've already delayed, and a part of their delay, you know, I guess maybe they all would have died in the IED if they'd been there on time. But still, it's like they can't get their shit together. They won't get over to him. And at this point, he's like, he says his name over the radio, which that was a cue that like he needed him over there. Yeah. When he says his name, he's like, you know, Alpha 2. He's like, Jake, I need you here. Like, you gotta, you know, that was, and I don't know if other people picked up on that, but that was a clear sign over comms using someone's name. Like, we need you, you know, like I'm going out of robotic mode. Like I need my friend, you know, and then
to that point too, like as someone who's done like, you know, law enforcement comms, I've never heard someone using like addressing anyone else by plane name over comms. I never was taught that it's a no. But it is like I can see as like a breakdown of command and what's the word? The aura of professionalism. You know what I'm talking about? Not context, but is so to put in.
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, but it is a total violation of the
command structure and professionalism.
Comorum. Not comorum. Decorum.
Yeah.
Decorum. It's a violation of the decorum of like professionality over the radio. But like when he said that, I do remember I was like, ooh, fuck, he's hurt. And I thought he was going to die too.
And they don't say names because of more like it's, you know, police law enforcement will be one thing, but especially if you have a chance of enemy listening to you and knowing your name, you know, it's a no-go. So then Alpha 2 gets in there and he locks it down a little bit, but then
he says, anyone done a blood sweep on you?
Then he goes to him on the bed and he's like, let me check you out. Like, has anybody checked you out, sir? Like, and he's like, and then the guy just keeps, Alpha 1's just talking about his team and he's like, no, like you, like, are you okay? I'm gonna check you out now. And then that's when he finally admits it. He's like, I'm fucked up. I need you to take command.
Jake, I'm fucked up. You gotta take command.
Also, the humility
in that
of one, you know, he's in bad shape. Two, the humility and like awesome leadership skill to be like, pull yourself when you're not any longer like value add. I really appreciated that scene. And like these two guys they're in charge of all these other guys. And they're responsible. They're big brother. This is big brothers taking care of all the rest of the kids. And it's like, you know, they have a little side conversation chat of like, you know, hey, I'm out, you're in, I'm, you know, and like that, like understanding and like teamwork. I thought it was cool and special, and
felt real too, though.
And it felt real because at the same time as this is happening, there's this hard charging, big purple dick swinging, tough guy. You know, freaking dude, it's big. It's a big, you know, it's like he's just after, you know, so, you know, he comes in and this guy, you know, he's trying to just be tough SEAL and do you got this, you're fine, you're all right, like rub some dirt in it, you know, and like slapping him, the injured guy on the leg, you know, and that scene I thought was really cool too. Like
just so you know, this guy the actor is Evan Holtzman. And the nickname, the cast came up with nicknames for everyone. His nickname while they were shooting was Cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
And so Evan Holtzman is this guy who comes in and fucking literally kicks the legs of the dudes whose legs are blown up.
Yeah. And then people keep tripping on the legs. All these guys are coming in like we're hot shit, you know. And it is this thing. I mean, they were showing that's who SEALs are. Like, you know, you talk to other people, you know, we love SEAL movies, we love SEAL books, but also then you talk to people about SEALs and like lots of people are going to be like, yeah, SEALs are douchebags, you know. And a lot of them are, I'm sure, you know, and a lot of them are awesome too. And so, but they they took the time to depict both of it and all of it. And do you remember there's a scene where he gets behind him, Cowboy does, and he just says, hey, all right, it's time to BTF it. You know what BTF is?
Beat the fuck out of it. No?
BTF is Big Tough Frog Man.
Oh, really?
It's like, no, you, like, anytime you're down and out, like, so, like, if you're in buds, you know, and it's like BTF. Like, you're a Big Tough Frog Man, you get through it, you don't quit, you know, that kind of, like, whole thing.
I like beat the fuck out of it.
Yeah. And then so Big Tough Frog Man, and that's where, like, he came in trying to be a big tough frog man, and he wasn't reading the room and having, like, the wherewithal, whereas Ray was like trying to, like, he doesn't need this right now, get off of him, like, you know, this stuff. Like, the real big tough frog man was Alpha 2, you know, like, has his stuff together, strong leader, like, it was cool. And so, like, you know, and SEALs get a bad rap for being douchey sometimes, and I appreciate that they put the douchey SEAL in there, and also
Realism.
like, and they also, like, you know, if you can't, anywhere in the world, if you can't make fun of yourself or your community or your people or those little things and stuff, then, like, you don't build rapport with everybody. So, like, just, like, being able to say, like, hey, you know, we know this is how it is, like, and this is how it goes. Sometimes people act like this, you know. But then seeing the flip side of Alpha 2 and his, like, leadership coming in, I thought that was just I liked it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was pretty realistic. And, you know, like, there was something, I think, for me, like, very cathartic in the relief of Will Poulter's character being able to surrender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, as an audience member, he's fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And you're wondering the whole time. And, like, when he has the humility to surrender command, you're like, okay, maybe he won't die. Because what Hollywood would do is make him, like, you know, what was it? BTF?
Yeah.
He'd make him BTF and go out in a blaze of glory or something, right? Buying time. And what actually happens, right, is that it's like, okay, like, no, like, I'm responsible for these guys. I'm humble enough to admit I can't be responsible. Like, I need someone better. Which leads us to the next thing, which, did you find anything on this? The sergeant, which I think the sergeant is played by an Aaron McKenzie. I'm double checking on it real quick. I just want to give him credit because he was so good. And nope, not Aaron McKenzie. He was so good and believable that I thought he was an actual SEAL, like, just playing the role in the film.
Ray's counterpart, essentially. Like, he had Ray's same role on the other team as, like, who calls in comms and stuff. He was
Charles
the commo
Mellon.
man.
Charles Mellon is his name. He ain't been in much. He was in Riverdale a little bit. But anyways, he was so good and squared away that it made me think he was an actual, like, retired SEAL, giving his time to the film. But yeah, did you see anything if, like, that was, I mean, you know what, like, I mean, from, like, what we have from the facts of the shooting, that was real. Like, 2 or more accounts, I bet the accounts are that sergeant and that comms, you know, SEAL, and being like, yeah, sergeant told me to pretend to be the CO and call in the cast back.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of people don't get, like, I looked at my buddy, the manager, and I was like, hey, man, that's insane.
This bad.
That dude's facing, like, life in prison.
Yeah, like, at very least, like, his job.
Minimum.
Right, but, like, yeah, like
minimum. I know guys who have gone to prison. Like, I know guys who were in the military who got judicial punishment and dishonorable discharge and went to prison over way less. You know, they were, like, stealing a couple gun magazines.
Right, which speaks to the scene why they went out and risked their ass to get that rifle.
Yeah.
They're like,
in the sledgehammer.
Yeah, I know. I was like, dude, leave the sledgehammer, bro.
Kid out on the street. It's like, it's a sledgehammer, dog. Like, I'm sure they got them here in Iraq. Like,
and now from the rifles they recovered, like, there is, like, a don't let the enemy have any of that stuff.
No,
but then,
dude.
it's funny, like, and because, I mean, you face huge charges, and so I half wonder if they fabricated that character
You mean Finn Bennett's character, John?
Finn Bennett's character, like he didn't exist so that they could
keep it anonymous.
It's like
who was it? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
That character's not real.
Like it might have been Ray, right? Like Ray might
that's a
like
good point.
At that point of my I'd been like the CEO, like it has to get approved by a CEO. Like, like,
it's so fucking crazy.
I don't know what they did. I would like to like around a campfire with Ray Mendoza, be like, hey man, like what's the deal with that? Just tell me, like, and he'll
Tell me the truth.
And it might be like, actually, like statute of limitations on that is like 3 years. That dude's out now and he runs like an awesome tech company and like he said put it in. I don't give a shit, know. So like I don't know, but like the I did love it. It was
you could see like when the sergeant told him to do
when
it.
he asked him, he knew what he was asking him, and
he was like, "I'm asking you to like fuck yourself,
give your life,
give your life
right now
for this." And like you could see Finn Bennett. Good. Here's the thing about Finn Bennett. If you know Finn Bennett, Pat and I were talking about before. He was in, unfortunately, he was in the most recent season of True Detective: Night Country. But it's his eyes, man. It's his eyes. He has these eyes that look so sardonic, so sad, so lost. And when you hide his hairdo, right? You hide his like young man hairdo underneath a fucking Kevlar helmet, and you're just looking at them eyes. You're like, dude, that is a guy who's seen some fucking shit. And it's his eyes that express everything when Charles' character says, hey, you got to be the CO. You got to be the CO or we're going to fucking die. And he's like, okay, I'll throw it away. And like you see him go back to the room and do it.
And actually, I take it back now because they put his face next to another guy's face in the credits. The dude who was wearing the like rocker mullet wig.
Oh yeah.
So
you're right.
I mean,
that guy's out.
That dude's out. He was like, unblur my face.
He was like, I fucking did it.
I did it. I don't give a shit what I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to his point, like honestly, everybody should do what he did. Bill Winters, great example of this.
Oh.
Bill Winters, he was in charge of Easy Company, Band of Brothers.
Yep.
Right. And there was a time when his officer, basically, said, hey, you have to go out on this patrol. And the patrol was worthless to the broader mission set, worthless to any strategic like goals. All it was going to do was going to get his guys killed. And so
just going to put them in the way of enemy fire.
Yeah. It was not going to move the needle at all anyway. And so he said, yes, sir. And he went and he walked his guys down the road and they went and sat in a barn all night.
Not only that, I mean, not to steal the thunder, but his guys had just gotten back.
Right.
From essentially doing the same thing they were told to go do that night.
Go do again. Yeah, just go do it again.
And they realized there's nothing out there but there's nothing out there but enemy like machine gun traps.
Yeah, there's nothing to win. And so
he was like, well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, basically, long story short would be that he ignored orders, he broke the rules, and ultimately saved his men's lives.
Yeah. And it was close to the end of their deployment, too.
Right.
It was like within weeks of them being done and getting to go home and have some R&R.
Yep.
It was also at the close of like the Western Front.
Yeah, like the whole damn deal. So it's like, bro, what are you having us do?
Yeah, why am I going to send my guys to die?
And so sometimes the top brass, they can suck it, man.
Yeah. For real, that is exactly how I feel about some top brass shit. Sometimes I think about it and I'm just like, so detached from reality, eat wiener. Alrighty. I think the final outcome here is right. Like we get the Casavac arrival, and we get the push into the Casavac. Everyone's loading up, and there's essentially two Casavacs, right? There's the one that gets the injured out, and then the ones that come out to get everyone who's not injured. In the ending, if there's anything you want to talk about before the ending, feel free to interrupt me. But I think the ending's like the most like poignant, contrasting event.
No, I think that the things there was one. This movie is short, so know that it's short going in.
90 minutes.
Or else you're going to think that like oh, now the big shoot 'em up battle's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so one, it was interesting that because I didn't realize how short I knew how short it was, but then it really, with credits and extra things, it's actually like
80.
It's like, like 75 even. It's like real short, because I was watching on my watch. I was like, oh, where are we at in the movie? And so then, first of all, like Ray gets in the first, like, Eve Kazovac.
Yeah,
and then
our main POV
and then I was
is
like,
out.
I was like, main man's not going to be in the big fight at the end, right?
Yeah.
And there really wasn't a big fight at the end. But then, and then the other point being, while he gave up command, last man.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Was the last man out was still Alpha One.
Yep.
So he and he didn't even get a good seat. He had to lay down on all those bastards' knees. But did you notice that? Like, like they loaded up, and then he still Alpha 2 got in.
He was the last one in the Kazovac.
He still was he still last manned it like a baller.
Which is crazy, because a lot of people just do not comprehend that like our military's command ethos of like what makes a good officer is entirely modeled after Christ. And I'm not trying to like force insert here,
right?
But like, ask anyone who was in the military that was enlisted, and they will say the best officers they ever saw were the officers who, got in line last and were the first to volunteer for shit. Like, they were like, the best officers were the ones who were like, hey, my men eat before I do, or my men load up before I do, and I'm the first one out of the truck. Yeah. I'm the first one out of the tank. I'm the first one out of the copter. And like, that is without a doubt always the narrative of guys who are like, yeah, the best officer I saw was so-and-so. And that's Christ's leadership, dude.
For sure. And they showed it throughout the movie the whole time. Like when Ray couldn't find the gear. So then Alpha 1 goes in, gets the gear. Same with Alpha 2, like, had guys are like, I can't get out there. No, hey, like, I'm like, he grabbed one guy, you're coming with me, and he went out there and grabbed the sledgehammer off the street.
Yeah, Alpha 2 also showed that leadership.
Like that level. And
good NCOs.
Dude, there's so many military guys out there with John 5:13 tattooed on them.
Yeah,
who like have nothing to do with Christianity, but it's that greater love has none of this than a man who lays down his life for his friends.
Yep.
And so that is like that's the thing, right?
Yeah. And I guess in closing, right, for the film is like the final scenes are the silence of the Bradleys rolling away, these combat vehicles with everyone in them. We leave no man behind. As far as we know, no man has died. And the family comes out from the room they were being held in.
It just got wrecked by a tank fire.
They see their houses here, and they go outside, and there's no, like, part of me was expecting that the Taliban would just be like, fuck it, shoot them.
Like, gun them down, yeah.
But there's no vendetta thing. The Taliban or these insurgents, they just step out onto the street, kind of assess, like, all right, I guess it's over.
They all come out. It's interesting because they all and part of it, we never saw the enemy clearly until now. They've just popped out of all their hidey holes. Yeah. They all just came right out.
Yep.
And they're all on the street, and they just kind of look around.
There's no wickedness. Like, they come out and you recognize it's like, dude, a lot of these guys are just gonna have to go home and make some dinner. All these guys are just gonna have to go home and grab dinner, because none of them come out and start celebrating. None of them come out and start parading a dead man through the streets. It's not Black Hawk Down, right?
They're just like, huh?
And they're just
all
like,
right.
Yeah, and I guess they drove away. And then
do
they're
it again
like,
tomorrow.
I guess I go home and eat some falafels.
Yeah,
and it's pretty crazy, and it's very honest, because that's probably exactly what they saw on the flare feeds. You know what I mean?
Right.
The flare probably showed, like, dude, yeah, they came out of their corners in the houses and they started making, cleaning up shit, and then they went home.
Did you half expect to see them all get roasted?
No, I 100% expected, I've been conditioned to expect they just killed the family as,
right,
fuck you.
Yeah, I thought the family was in danger, but there's a little piece of me being like,
they come out and just get
yeah. It's like Spectre 1-1. clear.
Warthog A10.
And just a yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
is this another show of force? They're like, negative.
Yeah, no.
Kill them all.
Doesn't happen.
No. And I think it
leaves on the note of us running away.
well, it does. It's. I think it speaks to how these events happened individually.
Yeah.
And it definitely is a broader. It's a couple things it's speaking to. It's like, hey, it's not over yet. We're still here. We're kind of nonchalantly walking around back to our homes, you know.
Did anything change at all?
No, yeah, they definitely gave that little bit of picture at the end. They went metaphorical, and like deeper.
How many? My biggest question, as soon as it went to the credits and showing the pictures of the guys, my first thing in my mind before I saw the photos pop up was, how much money was spent if there were actually no fatalities on either side?
Right.
Like, let's imagine there's some like hurt insurgents.
It was like a
and
$10
there's some
million
hurt
battle on
SEALs.
both sides. And
Yeah, and it cost the U.S. military $10 billion for the jets and the, CASEVACs and just the surveillance and the SEALs being out there and the injuries. And I'm just like, and no one died. Like, it's fucking nuts, bro.
Yep. Nothing was changed or nothing different happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think, and that's where the difference between, I will say, like American Sniper, Act of Valor, those types of movies, when did those come out? Pre-Afghan withdrawal.
Yeah.
Also, like, there's a different attitude.
A way different attitude.
Regardless
right
of you want to talk about like accuracy of storytelling, all that stuff, but like just being like
well, I think the truth is we're getting the post-Vietnam era movies.
I was about to say, we should go look at Vietnam movies that were made during
Vietnam.
the end of the Vietnam conflict, and then a couple after, and you'll see, I think, very similarly, a different kind of flavor on the back end.
Dejected, honest attitude.
Yeah.
Which
it could be interesting to see that. But yeah, I agree with that evaluation.
I have a couple things here. We're growing long in the tooth. This episode probably be longer than the movie.
Oh yeah.
But it was a great movie. And I just have a couple other trivia points I haven't talked on. This is sick. This is so cool. I'm a big Sopranos fan.
Yeah.
I'm not Italian. I have no, what's the word? Allegiance to the Italian mobs. I don't glorify the mob at all, but damn, do I not love James Gandolfini.
Oh, yeah.
I think James Gandolfini is a phenomenal actor. Every year I try to watch like one or two movies that he was in, even if I've already seen them, just to appreciate his work, because I thought he was excellent. And Michael Gandolfini, who played Lieutenant McDonald, his dad James worked with the Wounded Warrior Project, and a lot of people who watched The Sopranos as it was coming out know this, because James Gandolfini would be in Wounded Warrior Project commercials, especially during the height of like the War on Terror,
and Sopranos.
Yep. And he actually traveled to Iraq and Afghanistan to meet active duty and military veterans. And during that time, he would send them watches. He sent like watches and like, other stuff to injured soldiers. Joe Hildebrand, who is portrayed by Joseph Quinn as Sam in the film, and Elliot Miller received watches from James Gandolfini. And they got to show those watches to Michael.
Oh, like the dude. So the real dudes.
The real dudes
came,
were like, Michael, your dad is a fucking legend. He sent us these watches while we were like injured in the hospital.
Wow.
And can you imagine that, dude? Like, your dad's dead. Your dad's gone. He was taken too early.
He should still be here.
He should still be here, and he's gone. And you're being an actor, kind of following his footsteps. You got some actual war heroes who are like, your dad is a hero to me.
Yeah.
He recognized me. Like, that would break me, dude. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Like, my eyes are watery just like picturing like
I wish
the
they had
emotional
the YouTube
experience.
short clip of it. I wish I could be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, dude, because that was insane. The initial Bradleys that arrived to the Casevac, Elliott, that received that, like, were part of the IED. One of the things people see in the movie is like the ramp come up and the Casevac leave.
Yeah, they're like, we're out.
What's not explained, which I think is a good reason why it's not explained, is that IED actually injured the drivers of that Casevac.
They had to leave.
They had a femoral artery bleed.
Yeah.
And so the reason they left was because the main operator, the driver, was incapacitated. And the second in command of that Casevac took over and was like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And so he pulled it out, which... Sure, they could have shown a perspective of an actor or actors that you would never see later on at all. But they're like, or they could just be like, yeah, exactly the perspective of the injured.
Right.
What the fuck? They're leaving?
Right.
Which I thought was the right call.
Yep. It's a good call because they allude to it through a radio call where they're like, we have injured, we're coming in.
Yeah.
But like if not showing some other guy in the cab screaming, squirting blood. Leaves it to where you just go. I mean, yeah, I felt helpless.
Yeah,
when that ramp went up, the ramp was like
it was brutal.
The ramp was like God, or like the ramp in this movie in some ways was like it was just so life or death.
It was,
you know?
Yeah, it was. I forgot it was there until it started going up, and I was like, oh man, they're fucked.
Yeah. And then when they came out and the ramp came down again, I was like, oh, thank God, there's a ramp down. And once it closed, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
All clear.
Next bit of trivia. The set had a hole in the floor for Cosmo Jarvis's real legs to be hidden. And then, of course, they had the prosthetic legs of, the traumatized, blown out White Foss legs, which made sense. I never thought of that watching that scene. Like there's other horror movies I've seen where I'm like, oh, that guy who's cut in half,
the scarecrow,
his legs are actually in a hole in the ground. And those intestines are the prosthetic, right? This one I was looking at, I was like, I just legit thought they just did a bunch of makeup on his legs.
Yeah, the gore was so wild in those. I wasn't even thinking about the production. I was like, holy crap, that's real. Like it was so real.
So
I didn't
real.
even think about it. I was like, damn, that's a dude with his legs through a meat grinder.
Yeah. Lastly, and Pat here for our longtime listeners, you know this, but Pat's a big Jocko buddy. Jocko boy. He drinks the Jocko drinks.
Oh yeah.
But pretty sick. This is pretty cool. Task Force Bruiser, which was SEAL Team 3, who was there prior to SEAL Team 5 arriving, which was Ray's team and the 3 squads that were a part of that. SEAL Team 3, Task Force Bruiser, was commanded by Jocko Willink. And after retiring, Willink became a best-selling author, podcaster, leadership consultant, all that jazz. And he's had a lot of his former team guys on his podcast talking about this stuff. So if you're interested in knowing more about Ramadi, check out Jocko's podcast.
Yeah, because I will say, semi-recently, somebody made some pretty egregious claims about Task Unit Bruiser and war crimes and all this stuff. And Jocko, I'll say, hasn't made a statement or addressed it.
Really?
Directly. He has. Here's the deal. Jocko always indirect warfare. He will never he's true to his principles. He's not going to come on straight onto this guy like, this guy, he's an officer.
He's just going to pay one of his buddies to take him out.
No. Here's what he did. But here's what he did. He's done he did 10 or 12 podcasts in a row, bringing in all these different ranking people who were in the Battle of Ramadi on his podcast.
Yeah.
And just had them talk about what they did. So it was so genius, his war fighting. This guy accuses Jocko and Chris Kyle and all these guys of all this stuff. And so instead of feeding the fire or even addressing that guy exists, Jocko just brought on all these dudes from the Battle of Ramadi. I mean, generals down to just to bring validation. And so what's cool about that though is now you have this really cool documented the history of the battle, what happened there, and you get super familiar with it and all the things that went on there. And because they SEAL Team 3 set the stage for the work that then SEAL Team 5 did, which and So I think that, yeah, one, definitely you can check out his stuff. And if you're finding out about Jocko from Mick and Pat, well,
crazy.
That means we've made it, boys. But I do think you can get, if you want to understand Ramadi a lot more, you can dig into his stuff, because there's a lot of things in there.
For sure. And I gotta say this.
Oh yeah.
You gotta take what everyone on Jocko's podcast and Jocko himself says with a pinch of salt.
For sure.
Because it is, everyone knows when they go on
that lots of people are listening.
A lot of people are listening, and that like it could lead to movie deal, book deal, whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying anyone's a liar. I'm just saying you got to understand that like there may be some embellishment. But
yeah,
I truly do believe from what I've listened to, there are some very valid accounts of what happened in Ramadi. And honestly, I just don't I guess I don't care that much about like 100% honesty as much as it's like giving me the big picture points of it fucking sucked, and there was a lot of failures, and there's a lot of mess ups, and here's how we handled it.
Exactly. Yeah. To be 20 years in retrospect.
Yeah.
Evaluating warfare on like this, like almost like the microscope of like cancel culture of ability to be like, well, in this case, did you do this? Like, I don't know, but we did it, type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. We both just said for sure at the same time. Sometimes we finish each other's sandwiches. Okay. Alrighty.
I thought I did. One of my favorite parts of the movie was that first show of force from that freaking.
That was the best part of the movie. The best part of the movie was when the F-18 or I guess what
35 or whatever it was,
F-16 just came down and put those angel wing dusts up, and
the vortex of
I
death.
saw it coming, and then it blasted over me, and I felt my asshole release.
Yeah, dude, it was.
That's the thing. There's a difference between like if something triggers your asshole to pop, you still have conscious physical control over your body. If your asshole dilates and releases, you have no control over yourself.
You have surrendered.
Yeah, that's a true vulnerability. I feel like I've told you this. I went to a Blue Angel show once.
Oh, dude, it's incredible.
Dude, I went to a Blue Angel show once up in Michigan. And I remember I was watching them do their thing. I was like, wait a second, there's only 5 jets there. Where's the... And the 6th one came over our head at like 200 feet.
From behind and just...
Yeah. And my... like the little bitch I was, dude. My 6th grader, 7th grader knees buckled.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember watching like as my... Like it was a totally... Like there was no true... It was a primal. It was insect like. My knees buckled. I went down. My hands were like folded in between my thighs, and I just like slumped on the grass.
Yeah, dude.
As that shockwave went over my head, and I watched in front of me as like, 36 other people just collapsed.
Yeah,
because they had never felt that
in pure euphoria, terror.
And I was so embarrassed when I stood up. I stood up and I looked around, and there was other people who hadn't collapsed. And I just remember being like, what the fuck just happened? I'm not chill with that. Yeah. And it was one of those moments I'll always remember. And like seeing that in the movie theater, it definitely triggered that. Like I felt my asshole, and I was like, yeah, that's scary.
No, for real.
Show of force.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
it was so cool.
For all the hell the chair force gets, they're pretty dope.
Pretty cool guys.
And then, yes, because I've been working on my, here we go. You ready? It's like this.
That's actually really good. That's really good.
That is the sound of freedom. If you're an American.
Yeah.
If you're not, It's a bad sound to hear,
It
my
has a scary
friends.
sound to hear. Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, the worst case scenario is by the time you hear it, the, 20 millimeter is already going through your chest.
It's all done. It's all over.
Yeah. That's really good. There's 2 types of guys in the world.
Yeah.
One type practices F-16, F-18 sounds. The other type practices TIE fighter sounds.
Oh yeah.
No, dude, yeah, no, that was great. And like they did it 3 times and I never got sick of it.
Yeah. Yep.
3 times they did it, and every time I was like, God, that's fucking crazy. My biggest thing was like, how has no other war movie thought like we should include that?
Right.
There's no other war movie that has that in it. And I'm like, that's the sickest thing.
I was like, show of force. That's so gay. Like initially, before I saw it, it was like, hey, we can't shoot them. We can show them our stuff though. So it's like, way up high, just like a plane flies by.
We got bombs.
Yeah. It's like, what are you talking about? And then they did it. And I was like, that should make you go home.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are we here? Dude, this is dumb.
It should make you give up.
Why are we fighting them?
It also should make you be like, wow, they could kill all of us at any second, and they don't.
Yeah. Like the reason they're not doing this is because of politics.
Like politics and honest, like, we don't kill women and children. Like, yes, it happens, but like
sometimes
we go to extreme measures to not do that, and we could turn your sandbox into a glass sheet, but like we don't, and so like, but oh man, I thought the movie was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I was 16. I think I would have, but like it was incredible. Like it
does like feel like a movie that is very, very tailored. Part of me thinks it's almost not tailored to my combat vet friends. Part of me feels like it's tailored to be a movie that my combat vet friends take me to.
Right.
Like my combat vet friends are like, hey, come watch this because this is actually really good. This is really accurate. Like if you want to know what it's like, this is it. And I think that's like just unfortunately, that's a small segment of our population nowadays. Because I thought it was cool that the manager of the movie theater, he's a younger guy than me, and he was like, "Dude, you gotta watch this. Let me take you. It'll be free."
Yeah,
and I was like, "All right, sick." And to see him get it and like appreciate it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But dude, if I was his age, I would have been like, whatever.
Like I was expecting a lot
violence.
more heads popping.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think the backside perspective is that's what gives it its power. And it's, I mean, lots of people are already trying to call it like movie of the year and things like that. And I mean, so far what I've seen, sure, because everything else has been a remake or something else, or like whatever.
What was the IED movie back in the day, like about 10 years ago? It was the ex-wife of James Cameron. She made it. Something Zone.
Green Zone?
No, Green Zone was with
like Matt Damon.
Yeah. Oh, not Zone. Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker. Yeah. Hurt Locker with the,
honestly, like I get
it's
like,
Hurt Locker-ish.
It is Hurt Locker-ish, but I think Hurt Locker is even Hollywoodized. Like
Hollywoodized?
Hurt Locker has a whole scene where like that fucking team picks up a sniper system to shoot insurgents.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like that doesn't happen. And
Hurt Locker is kind of made to make you feel more bad about like it's like same with Jarhead.
Yeah.
Like this, like it's not a warfare is not an anti-war movie. It's just a thing that says, hey, this happened to us one day, and I'm gonna tell you about it.
Yeah.
And so like it's not like I didn't feel like there was any agenda one way or the other.
I think that's why I liked it so much, because I didn't feel like they were like, yeah, war's bad, right? War's bad, right?
Yeah, or
don't
like,
you feel like war's bad?
Or join the Navy SEALs today. Either one. It was just
wasn't either side.
I was just like, wow, that's a story worth telling,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. All right. Dude, here's the thing I've not been looking for. The rating.
Uh-huh.
I'm torn between 2 and 1. I'm being honest with you, man. I'm going to be honest with you just the way, hey, Pat, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
These beers did a number on me.
You got brain injuries from this movie?
Is it 2 thumbs because I've never seen a movie as honest as this is about the war on terror? Is it 1 thumb just because it can only say so much without more time?
Is barely feature length, you know?
Yeah. It's really hard for me to decide on from like a cinematic, cinephile perspective.
I'll say, because with our movies, with our beers, a 2 thumb rating is like a,
all-star beer.
Beyond all-star.
Everyone needs to drink it.
Versus the film ratings are different as far as like, I mean, yeah, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, it's not a this, it's not a that, it's not a Star Wars, it's not a, whatever. Like, but I'll say I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
I've like 0 complaints. I actually appreciated like the length of time it was. It was kind of nice. It
felt longer to me. I don't know about you, man, but like every time I looked at my watch, so I was like, I know this movie's 90 minutes.
Right.
I looked at my watch and I'm like, holy fucking shit. It feels like this movie's 2 hours. And and then that was because of stress. You know what I mean? Yeah,
because it brings you through the story. And I agree. I'm in the same boat. I think it's a combined Mick and Pat 3 thumbs up. This is one of those ones where it's you know what I mean? It's not 4 thumbs up as far as like will live on for all time.
Have we ever given a movie 4 thumbs up?
Lots of time, I think.
We've given some 4 thumb up beers.
Yeah, we got some 4 thumb up beers, but
I don't know if a movie's ever gone in.
And we haven't as diligently thumb rated all of our movies.
Yeah, sure.
As our beers, but I think like this is one of those ones where I'm like, I'll say this: you should see it. You got to see it.
You got to see it. If you can, go see it at your best buddy's biggest like subwoofer surround sound system. Yeah,
for sure. And so I think like the fair compromise would be like, as we're both torn, it'd be like Mick and Pat 3 thumbs up, because
3 out of 4 thumbs up.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it just, there was never a point where I have 0 complaints.
I'm giving it 2 thumbs.
You have to forcing me to give it?
Yeah, forcing you. Fuck you.
I'll give it the 1 thumb.
Okay.
I think because in some ways it will come and go.
Yeah, for sure.
Like even like the movie Platoon, like Vietnam
I was just
Platoon.
Thinking about it. I was like,
is this the platoon of GWAT? I don't think so. Could be, but I don't think so. Because it's not on such an epic scale. The character development's not there. It's just this is a one shot. This isn't a epic story. This is a snapshot, one shot. Day in the life, mission set, and I'll recommend it to so many people to go see it. But I also like, I don't know. Yeah, I'll sacrifice and give it the 1, because I think 3 is right where it should sit.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really, I agree. Like a 3 out of 4 seems right to me.
And I haven't seen a 4 thumb in like since I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, the 4 thumber is that's Schindler's List, baby.
Right. This is
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're talking like these big old big dogs.
Yeah. No, it was great, and I really just don't have anything else I can do justice by it. Like, if you've listened to this whole podcast, you've seen the movie, or you're stoked to go watch it, totally like cocked, ready to go off. But it was really good, and I really do think it's going to be one of those movies that I watch when I'm in my 50s or 60s. and my kids are going to be like, yeah, that's that movie that I think gives me a pretty good insight to what that war was like.
Yeah.
But like, I don't really have a attachment to it. Like I see Platoon. I love Platoon. I love Willem Dafoe's performance.
That slow-mo falling dying. It's hard to top that one.
The final line of that movie of sometimes I feel like a child torn between two parents. You know, it helps me really put in perspective the granular scale of the war as well as the macro. At the same time, I'm still like, okay, cool. That's what Vietnam's like. Moving on to like wars I was alive for. And I feel like that's what this movie will be. Like people will see it and be like, that's what that was like? Crazy, dude. Moving on to wars I was alive for. Which is, you know, just the way it's gonna be for the next generation, right? All that said, big commendations to the cast and crew. Phenomenal movie. And our beer, you know what? Even though we gave it a 2 thumber down, Pat and I drank it all tonight.
That's true.
There's no beers left unopened at the table. So with that, you know, we just want to thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoyed Warfare, and that whether or not you pause this and came back to it after watching it or whatever, to not spoil it for yourself, we really do hope that you enjoyed it. You enjoyed the amount of effort that went into the film. Hope some of the trivia bits were of interest to you. But most of all, we hope that you participated with us in this conversation. And thanks for joining us again. Pat, you got anything?
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.